it's in there or not. I may have taken it out. And we should be live. Unless Daniel messed up everything again.
No, looks like we're live. Excellent.
All right.
Good.
Hello, everyone. Sorry for being late, as always. Everything was Daniel's fault. So, hello, everyone. Welcome to the Hylian Gamescast, episode 142. Before we get started, I want to give a thank you to some Patreons. So, thank you, ZAIN, FRAN, WIGGLYWIGGLE, NORNARB, David, Super NX64, Gus, Jesse, Shadow to Us, Lovable Christy, Natsu, BKRS7, Justin, Monica, Lurulian, Andreme, Rusty, Mr. Monocled Metroid, Zoe Candy, Ashton, Jen, Largnar, Chad, SOBERX, Henry, and we have, let's see here, iTunes. If you leave a review on iTunes, then we will read it before we get started because we like hearing what you guys think. This one was from 𝗷𝗃 who gave us 5 stars. Says, Jesse is so knowledgeable and his crew is very intelligent about the topics. Definitely recommend listening to these great people. You can tell they really are knowledgeable about the facts on their topics. So today we have our guest, 𝗟𝗵𝗃. For those who may not know who you are for some crazy, bizarre reason, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, Rick?
I'm 𝗟𝗵𝗃. I make Zelda theories, guides, and whatnot. I'm actually streaming a whole lot on the channel right now and getting ready to make a transition over to a different channel for that, but scripted Zelda content will be staying over on my channel. That's me.
Nice. And of course, we have our co-host, Daniel, as well.
Buongiorno. That's me. Also, just to mention, 𝗟𝗵𝗃's streams are a really chill, good time. I often hang out there myself. Definitely recommend it to it. I'm sure there's plenty of overlap in our audiences here, but definitely recommend it. It's a good time, guys. So go support a friend. That's all.
Thank you.
That's all. Jesse.
Yeah.
Continue.
I was just trying to fix something.
Don't fix anything.
All right.
Let us be broken together.
Yes. Just let us know if you can hear and see us fine and everything, because there was some issues with OBS before we got started. Daniel came over while I was sleeping and just messed with everything. Yeah. So today's
right. I took an international flight to the States just to mess with Jesse's stream settings.
There,
that's what happened.
We have it on camera. So we have a few news topics. There's a bit of all right. So it's always the same thing. So there's a Switch 4K rumor from 𝗵𝗃, or what's the other name he goes by?
Nate Drake? It's like very interchangeable. I don't know which one's the right one. Everyone always says both usernames. There was like Nate Drake or 𝗵𝗃, and or vice versa. I don't know which is the right one though.
But this one isn't necessarily just about the Nintendo Switch 4K, but a possible other console as well. And we have a GameCube rumor that was part of a video that I put up the other day. That is essentially saying that GameCube games are being tested to try to come to Switch, but having some issues. We'll get into that a little bit later. There's some Breath of the Wild 2 rumors that Samus Hunter may or may not have been the person to email me. It was weird, but I don't think she was. It was just odd how it turned out, because after I posted the thing, she posted a tweet talking about something that she knew that kind of related to it. So it was just a fun time for everyone. And then we can get into the Zelda quiz with everyone and have some fun with that. And then end it with the Zelda Mailbag, as always. So, starting off with the Breath of the Wild 2 rumors, essentially, I split this into 2 videos because it took a few days for the person to email me back, but it was talking about the one on my mind right now is the possible multiplayer implementation of some sort, which they mentioned involving some sort of trading sequence, which was the part that Samus Hunter posted a tweet about, and I'll get to the other part of the rumor after her tweet. But it says, YouTube recommended me a video from 𝗵𝗲𝗃𝗍𝗃 about the sequel to Breath of the Wild and some possible features. I don't have much to share, but I heard that the team did some experiments with online when creating the engine and use it during development. It was mainly an asynchronous type of multiplayer like writing messages, but the engine can support it. The multiplayer aspect was likely cut due to performance and not enough time to develop it, and we might see it with a new game, 𝗟𝗔𝗄𝗏, like the MP multiplayer potential for the series. So
I haven't thought about that.
See,
She says when they were creating the engine, they were testing multiplayer features, but part of me wonders
that was all the way back
if
with
that
Wind
was
Waker.
just for yeah, exactly what I was gonna say was Wind Waker. Because correct me if I'm wrong, Wind Waker HD, not the original, but the HD version ran on Breath of the Wild's engine, didn't it? Did it not?
Yeah, it was like
they were
an
trying
early
to
version of the
test
engine.
the engine out. Right. So they were trying to test the Breath of the Wild engine out. So they basically remade Wind Waker in HD using that engine.
Mm-hmm.
And Wind Waker had that asynchronous type of multiplayer, like writing messages, like Samus Hunter says, with the tingle bottles that you could leave. Back when Miiverse, rest in peace Miiverse, back when Miiverse existed, and you could like write messages and put them in a tingle bottle, toss them into the ocean, and you could find and read other people's messages. And that's pretty fun way to do sort of an online multiplayer in air quotes feature for a Zelda game, I think. But part of me wonders if they said it, like, cause she says they were testing it during development of the engine. Part of me wonders if they just did that just for Wind Waker, or if it was ever meant for Breath of the Wild or not. Do you know what I mean?
Well, there was the thing where 𝗟𝗔𝗄𝗏 said that he didn't want people to think of it as a multiplayer or a single player only experience, or however he worded it.
Right.
Which
yeah.
isn't saying much.
I mean, yeah, it's a bit ambiguous what he meant when he said that back in like, what was it, like 2015 or something, when he 2014? It was 2014 when he said that.
It was before that.
It was like the
it was when
original
Wind
reveal.
Waker HD was also revealed. It was the same direct.
Oh,
Pretty sure this has something in it too.
Rick's
look,
cracking
need to
out the
find-
literature.
I need to find the page, but there's some concept art of like being in a shrine and being able to like write on the wall and leave a message there for another player. Very similar to like Dark Souls and how they have writing on the ground.
Interesting.
Which was actually very, very fun way to implement online multiplayer in the Dark Souls series. So you could actually trick people if you wanted to and be like, turn here and oh, there's a secret over here, and then you fall off a ledge, stuff like that. It's pretty cool.
It reminds me of not the Switch version, but the Wii U version of Super Mario 3D World, which you could post Miiverse posts on the like when you finish a level. Every time you finished a level in that version of the game, it would be like, do you want to make a post, like a Miiverse post for this level? And you could write a message, and then what would happen is with someone else going to play that level, during the loading screen, it would show a bunch of posts that other people made while playing that level or after playing that level.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty cool.
That was a good way to do it. That was like very, I would say, unintrusive. But I would always end up switching it off because people would always like write like, "Oh, the secret is here," and I'm like, I wanted to find that out myself. So I just would switch it off. Otherwise, there'd be a lot of Mario fart jokes.
Yeah,
There was a lot of those.
Wait,
as
which
well.
Mario game did
other
you say?
inappropriate things.
That was the Wii U version of Super Mario 3D World.
Okay, because
The Switch version didn't have it at all, which I didn't miss it.
In New Super Mario Bros., it just had the messages pop up when you died.
When you died. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like there would be a little X
Interesting.
on the screen and be like, this person died here. They said this. And it was usually just like a angry face or like
Interesting.
garbled text.
See, I never played New Super Mario Bros. Wii U on the Wii U. I have it on Switch. The new Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe.
So,
The new soup. But I never had the Wii U version actually. So
a question in the chat. Lee Azuri says, what do I download? I assume you're talking about the quiz later. You can download Kahoot, the app, or you can just go on your phone or computer or tablet or anything, kahoot.it, and then we will give usually a 4-digit code for everyone to join. So you don't have to download anything, but you can if you would like.
Unless they mean just like listening to the podcast, at which point iTunes,
preferably.
but this is a live recording.
Yes.
So this episode won't be there yet.
Yeah, that'll
until
be
after
tonight or tomorrow morning. This will be on iTunes and
Ready to lose.
Spotify and basically everything. So
besides iTunes, any like streaming service that has podcasts, so Spotify, iTunes, etc.
while Rick is
Podbean.
looking that up, I was looking at the email and script for all the other stuff, and it was they mostly, it seems like it was connections to or issues with the script or adjustments that they needed to make given to them from Japan to make the script closer to the Japanese script, which I did not know this, but was apparently something a lot of people had issues with, comparing the original script to, or the English script to the original Japanese script. After the video went up, there's a bunch of people posting in the comments talking about it, saying that, oh, thank goodness they're finally like taking some measures to make sure that it's more accurate or whatever. Variations on that, from it just sucks to whatever. So I don't know how you guys felt about the script, but there was some differences that made the lore and stuff a bit confusing, because like the main one that I think of is different games being referenced in the scene where Zelda's like knighting everyone or something in like the middle of the whatever they're in.
That's the
I think it was just more so that she didn't mention the other two. And in every other script, she mentions all of them. But in ours, there's a point where they start to talk over her as well.
Yeah.
Right. She's still talking. And I think she still says it in the English version, but you just can't hear her or something like that. I can't remember.
And
I think you're right, yeah.
I don't remember exactly what it was, but there was some people in the comments that also mentioned the ending of the game being weird, or like just the whole thing based around Calamity Ganon.
Right. Yeah, because in the English version, when he becomes Dark Beast Ganon, Zelda says that form is born of him giving up on reincarnation, whereas in the Japanese version, it's literally the opposite. She says that form is taking shape because he refuses to give up on reincarnation. So yeah, it's like literally she said the opposite thing.
Yeah,
in the
I can
original.
see how that would be a big problem.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Apparently,
a little bit of mixed messaging.
To make sure that the accuracy was a lot better and a lot closer to the Japanese script, they hired some new Japanese to English and English to Japanese bilingual translators in various positions, and apparently one either got switched out or fired or had to go to a different position or something. I don't know.
Aonuma pulled them aside and was like, listen, do you know how crazy these fans are? They will find every detail of everything you did wrong.
Yeah. So a bit of a
it to
pause
pieces.
on that. Rick found the page, I suppose.
I did find the page. So if
I
anybody
know that
has Hyrule,
it has the magic meter in it too.
I wanted to
Or
say
is that the
Hyrule
shield
Historia.
meter?
Page is that on? I'll just pull up
It's on 218 and 219. So right here, you can't see it very well on my camera at all.
I'll
But
get
right
it
here,
on.
it's-
I have the digital version. I'll put the screen up for people.
I found it.
Okay.
I found it.
on the right hand side, inside of the concept art photo, it says ancient writing appears on the final room of a dungeon or notes from other adventurers. So basically, you would have been able to write notes on the wall for people.
What page was it again?
At the time, and it's funny because one of those shots almost looks like Wind Waker Link in the middle at the.
Oh, it totally does.
Yeah,
it totally does. He's just little. He's just a little guy.
Maybe you're right, Daniel. They experimented with the messages in the bottles before, and it was like an idea that they worked with from the get-go.
Rick, what page was it?
The thing is, too, is that I feel like it works for Wind Waker, but also Wind Waker, was a 10-year-old game already, so it's like they didn't really have to dodge spoilers or anything. And I almost wonder if, like, part of it being cut would have been a spoiler concern, like someone writing spoilers on the wall or something.
Yeah.
And with a brand new game, that's far more of a concern than a remake of a 10-year-old game, right? So, but yeah, I have to wonder. That would be my concern. We have a super chat though, Jesse.
Yes.
Yes, it's Super Bullet 516 says $5. Drink water and stay healthy, everyone.
Oh,
thank you, Super Bullet. I will. Right now. There you go.
So I had the page up for a quick second for everyone to look at, but it's off
Nice.
now. Yeah, thank you for the super chat. That image, because it's mostly all concept images on both pages, and I just really like all the various stuff on there that you can see the way things would have been. Yes, Daniel?
No, I was just agreeing with you. Like, yeah, the concept arts look like there's a very different looking shrine than anything in the final game. It's almost like this sort of golden temple looking shrine, right?
Yeah.
And there's the shield gauge is actually just the one from Skyward Sword slapped in the corner instead of the. I mean, there is no shield gauge in Breath of the Wild. I wish there would be, but there isn't. So
there's also
cool.
It's odd. I haven't, out of all the mods that's been in Breath of the Wild, I still haven't seen one that does put a shield gauge on like Skyward Sword had.
That would
a
be
shield
nice.
And a weapon gauge would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if you have to pause to view it, I just want like something more than just the little twinkle to show it's at full durability and the flashing red when it's low. Like I want more detail than that.
I bet it would have been in the game if it would have remained on Wii U, because I imagine they removed them from the screen because it would have taken up too much space, which was something a lot of people complained with Skyward Sword. And don't they give you the option to remove everything from the HUD in Breath
There's
of the
like a
Wild?
pro HUD.
Yeah. And so whenever they got rid of the Wii U gamepad screen, I think that would have been when they removed it, because then if you would have had like a weapon gauge, which we don't know would have been there, but it would have been nice to know, a shield gauge, especially shield gauge, because your weapons like glow and blink and you can kind of tell when they're about to break, but with the shields they just kind of stay the same. I think they end up cracking a little bit.
That's the same. It's the same. Yeah, it's just on the pause screen or on your inventory screen.
Yeah.
Is the only time it looks any different. But yeah, it's the same shields, bows, or weapons. There's like a little twinkle when it's at full durability, and then it flashes red when it's low durability. And
I don't remember if it was a magic meter or a shield meter, but on some of the demos when Aonuma and Miyamoto was playing it, you could see some gauge there.
Or no, for the gameplay demo from 2014, that's the one you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, so that was a magic meter.
When they're like, my game's coming out before you.
And slightly different HUD. Yeah.
You know, I bet they experimented using the magic meter for the abilities, and I bet you it was too OP, so they had to put hard limits on them instead and take away the magic meter.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because like,
no, like your abilities from the champions.
Oh yeah, because then you could just spam Urbosa's Fury and
they're given
win any conflict.
They're given to you in a similar way as the Goddess Fairies give you stuff in Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask.
Yeah,
so that would make sense.
Yeah, that would have been OP. Well, they would have had to. Yeah, no, because that would be for Dick's OP, because you could just like make I assume elixirs were already a thing by that point. You could just like cook up some food or elixirs to like give yourself a bunch of extra magic or something and just go ham with 𝗿𝗏𝗃𝗧 Fury or something. Yeah, that would have been pretty wicked. But I guess having the cooldown is a good way to do it. That's a little more. I think it's reasonable. Like it actually brings to mind a Link Between Worlds, which has like a magic meter, but it's basically a cooldown gauge for your abilities, right? It's not like a traditional magic meter. So yeah. Anyway, sorry, Jesse.
No, you're good. So let's see here. There was aside from people being hired and stuff like that, but still with the localization stuff, people were brought back around August, while initially there was a few people that stayed on. Most of the people moved on to another team, and then most of those people were brought back to the game, as well as some new people, which happened in August, he says. He sort of talks about a book in the game that was almost completely rewritten, or needed to be completely rewritten, because the stuff that it said didn't match up with almost anything that was in the other one. I don't know if it was a change. I just now thought about this, but like the Japanese version and the English version of the compendium, I think it's the compendium, where in the Japanese version it reads more like a journal from Link.
The quest log?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the adventure log, not the compendium. So it's written in the Japanese version from a first-person perspective, and actually gives a lot of context to not just what quests you're doing, but like Link's feelings about these things as well. Like there's a lot of Link's sort of musings, which is like really interesting, because from a North American audience perspective, we're used to Link being so stoic, you know? So it's like cool to see this glimpse of his thoughts and feelings, personality. But there's a whole channel that's almost dedicated to that. I recommend Quests with Aaron. Go look him up. He's got a couple videos talking about that stuff. He was able to like squeeze out 4 videos of decent length, all talking about these differences between the Japanese and English localization. And I almost feel like they got the better game because they have a protagonist with more of a personality than the one we got. So
they always do.
They always do. Yeah, absolutely. So
so with
cool.
This book, I don't know if it'll be like an item that's obtainable, or if it would be something more akin to like one of the diaries or journals that we find from everyone just lying around. And then there is, but apparently, it was really important to the story, and originally they thought the text in it was something that they could just be more lenient with, and then it ended up that they needed to completely redo it to make it match as close as possible to the Japanese. Some cutscenes needed to be rewritten for similar reasons, and he mentions also new scenes added in that weren't changes or weren't stuff that needed to be changed from previous translations, but new stuff needing to be localized altogether. And the only other thing that I can think of in reading through here was they had references to Age of Calamity that they needed to remove, and only a few remain, but even those few are kind of vague, when it could be talking about something that happened 100 years ago, or it could be a direct reference to Age of Calamity.
That's interesting, because I would not expect like any Age of Calamity connections in the sequel at all, to be honest. You know,
the only thing that I could like see happening is like maybe, just maybe, like Sidon and the others like saying, "Oh, I had this weird dream," you know, and maybe like side referencing something like that, but that's a long shot. We don't even know what universe they came from.
Right.
That's true. Yeah.
Like it could just be from the future of that universe.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Skyward Sword does it where there's not a tree there, and then he goes back and plants a tree, and then there is a tree there. So it's like, does that split off from the one that didn't have a tree, or was the tree just, it's that whole headache thing.
Yeah. Well, it's like there's different, it seems like each Zelda game with time travel follows different time travel rules. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's, even Skyward Sword's even inconsistent with its time travel rule. It's like the tree thing seems to be what's called replacement timeline theory, in which you go back in time and do something and it changes the future. But then other things like Demise' battle and Zelda going back in time and 𝗵𝗃 seems to contradict that and have like a predestined timeline theory or time travel theory sort of thing. So it's like it's inconsistent with itself. It's annoying. But yeah.
This is just like a weird opinion of mine, but I like, after thinking back on it, I thought it was odd Link getting upset when Zelda goes to put herself in like that 1,000-year rest or whatever it was, because to her, she's likely just falling asleep and then waking back up like a normal sleep. And for Link, like if he stays in the past, he'll be waiting 1,000 years, but he can just go to the future and then there she is again. So it's like, I get why you're worried, but it's you don't really have to be. Anyways, so yeah, that was basically all of that stuff. And then there's a mention of Ocarina of Time, where he says something about, let me find it. I don't know. I'll just, from memory, it was essentially him saying that in one of the emails he told us about Ocarina of Time, which was something that we did talk about for a while, but he tried making it clear that it wasn't Ocarina of Time 3D or HD, that it was just Ocarina of Time. And then I personally thought it was just more to do with Ocarina of Time HD. Like maybe they were just going to remake it like they did with
sense, 'cause, like,
Link's Awakening. Right? Yes. Which was something Nintendo Prime, Nate, mentioned as well. I think he made that comparison. And he said that he thought we would clearly be able to take that and go with the N64 route, but I did not. I thought it was lined up with something else that was mentioned before. And then with Ocarina of Time, I think that was... Yeah, that's basically it with Ocarina of Time, and apparently Master Quest coming sometime early next year. So
yeah,
with all
I was thinking about the whole Master Quest thing because I think I had a chat in someone's Discord
with 𝗏𝗏, Miyamoto's Discord.
No, we were talking about Zelda. Actually, Rick, I think it was your Discord, wasn't it? But we were talking about Zelda, and I was thinking about Master Quest and if it would come to Switch, and this wasn't actually part of the conversation. I was just ruminating on it later. But I was like, wow, Master Quest was like a GameCube thing, really? Not the N64, technically, but I could see it coming, I think, because with the NES games, specifically the Zelda games, but a couple other games have them as well. There's like a special version that's on the Switch Online, which gives you like, I think the Zelda one gives you a bunch of items at the start, which is like a little bit of, it makes it a little bit broken in a way, but like you get the blue ring at the start of the game and a bunch of money and stuff. I think that the Metroid one does something similar. So I could see them doing maybe like a special version that either does something similar or gives you Master Quest. Also, someone in the chat says, what is Master Quest? Haven't looked it up. It's basically like a hard mode for Ocarina of Time, but it features a bunch of remixed dungeons as well. It's not just like hero mode that in other Zelda games that makes it like you take extra damage. They actually like put work into it to remix the dungeons.
Isn't it all flipped too?
In the 3D version.
3DS.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the GameCube version's not flipped, but it has the remixed dungeons, which is awesome.
3DS versions where they tried making it harder as well. So it was like mixed with the hard mode where you took double damage, where in the original it was harder, but mostly due to the enemies being hard, like just stronger enemies earlier on and more of those enemies. And of course the remixed dungeons as well.
Yeah. But then other games kind of didn't put in the there was no hero mode or master mode for Majora's Mask at all.
Right.
Not even in the 3DS version, I don't think. And then Wind Waker HD had it where it's just double damage and you can't find recovery hearts. I think it was the same for Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, so it's Breath of the Wild's the only other one other than Ocarina that had actual like work put into its like hard mode with master mode, where there's no remixed dungeons, but there are changed enemy placements and stuff like that, as well as the harder enemies. So it's cool. It's cool. I appreciate it when it's not just, I don't know, like when it's actually a new experience in that way. You know what I mean? Because with other hero modes like Twilight Princesses, I could just rely on muscle memory, right? So
it's also similar. I just thought of this, similar to the original Zelda having its second quest.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Where the overworld and everything basically stays the exact same, but the dungeons are different shapes.
Yeah, the remixed dungeons.
And then
I hadn't even thought of that.
One thing that is easier in Master Quest, which I haven't tested this out, but apparently they made the Gold Skulltula collection easier, to where the path that you naturally go on would be where you find them, to where you don't have to really go too far out of your way compared to the original mode. But yeah, Master Quest, I would have went into the whole history, so I'm glad you got that. But
I've also heard that some people say the Master Quest, because they remix the dungeons, I've heard people say the Master Quest version of the Water Temple is actually easier unintentionally, just because the way they remixed it, it's like there's a couple of those hidden keys that are easier to find. And I just find that really funny.
I wonder if you can still soft lock on the Master Quest version.
I wonder. Yeah, I don't know. I've never run into that. I've heard a lot of people say they've soft locked themselves in the Water Temple. I've never in my life had that issue myself, but
neither have I.
Yeah, but I think Geek said she has, or maybe one of her siblings did, but
in the chat,
sounds infuriating.
Amber says good humor, Jesse, but I don't remember making a joke. Yeah. Anyways,
yeah, I don't know.
Ocarina, but Master Quest in Japan, they actually ended up giving it the title Zelda Ura, or Ura Zelda, but it isn't necessarily the actual Ura Zelda that would have been, because it went through like a lot of very, very, very different phases, where like Link started as an adult. There was no kid Link. There was Link got his fairy because he was becoming an adult, which is something people later might want to remember. Yeah, you basically go through all of that as an adult, and there was no child segments, and then they put the child segments in, and they had the ideas to add extra content, which also went through extra phases. And then at one point there was so much extra content because they were like, let's not just add more content, but let's remix the dungeons as well. And that got split into 2 discs, and one was going to be the remixed dungeons, Ura, and the other one was going to be called, it was nicknamed, Zelda Gaiden. And that would have added in the new story, items, and everything. And then Ura ended up becoming Master Quest, where it kept the same name in Japan. And then Gaiden went through a bunch of changes as well, and it ended up becoming Majora's Mask. But I imagine like the 4 dungeons would have mostly been similar, or like the boss ideas and stuff they had would have sort of been similar to what they would have added on to Ocarina of Time. I've always wondered like where would they have added those dungeons to. But yeah, like maybe the ice cavern, you go through it again and there's like a door or something that leads into an actual ice dungeon. Like
maybe it's longer than like 4 rooms.
Exactly. But yeah, anyways, so it would be really cool if they added it to it, because you can play it on the 3DS as we mentioned earlier, but not a lot of people actually played the original version because
it was hard to get, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was
I never even had
pre-orders for Wind Waker, basically. And then so many people were taking the pre-orders and then canceling the pre-order and then going back again sometime and pre-ordering again and getting the other copy. So they would just collect these copies of it. So Nintendo and GameStop and some other places did a thing to where you'd pre-order it and you'd still get Master Quest, but it came in the same case as Wind Waker. And some of them were
still hard.
Yeah, I think some was just Master Quest and some was Ocarina of Time and Master Quest, which is odd.
They should be able to fit on the same disc, though.
Yeah, you would imagine.
Collector's disc has, like Zelda 1, 2, Ocarina, Majora's Mask, and a Wind Waker demo, right?
Yeah.
So
I think the GameCube discs are pretty small, though, weren't they?
Yeah, but N64
they're like 1.4
take up
gigabytes or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is too bad because the GameCube itself was like, at the time, a powerhouse. I think it was more powerful than the PS2, specs-wise, technically. But because of those mini discs, they just
there's a super chat. $6 or $5 MV. I don't know what MYR is. I'm going to assume that is $10 billion, and we are all rich now. They say 𝗵𝘃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃. I apologize if I got that wrong. It says show full design tee y'all wear now with full screen. The t-shirt I'm wearing is just Dragon. I don't think any of us are wearing any.
I'm not wearing any.
Not today.
This is a plain shirt with no design.
Yeah, North Face sweater on and a tank top on today. So
Yeah.
Ooh, show us the tank top.
I don't want any 𝗍𝗵𝗃𝗀𝗃 licking my nipples today.
Not today. Oh no!
It's like come back tomorrow, but just not today. We also have a link in the chat, or not in the chat, but in the description. You can go to where it has Zelda, not Zelda, but merch for this YouTube channel, like Game Over Jesse shirts and Hylian Gamescast shirts. The Game Over Jesse shirt just looks like this, but on a shirt, which is also the beginning logo for most of our intros. And then there's the Hylian Gamescast that has all of us on it. And then was it Renan in the chat earlier said for you to mention your shirt, Daniel? You have a new shirt?
Oh, I just launched my merch shop yesterday, last night. So it's pretty much just my like channel icon. Well, there's 2 designs on there right now. It's like an illustration that actually my brother did for me. Very grateful to him for it. And the other one's like just my channel logo as well. So, but I'll post links to it. I posted links to it on my channel and on my Twitter and stuff. So if people are curious, no pressure or anything. I just did it because everyone keeps asking me about it. So I succumbed to peer pressure. But I actually am really excited for it because I ordered a bunch of shirts and a sweater for myself as well. So it'll be fun. They look really nice, at least on the preview. So
yeah. So to finish off the Breath of the Wild 2 stuff, after, like, I think it was the day after I posted the video, or it may have been later that evening, was when Samus Hunter, who's also been correct on a ton of stuff, has mentioned or referenced my video with the tweet that she made. But I think the multiplayer aspects being in Breath of the Wild 2 may be something that people that followed along with Breath of the Wild from when it was first announced would probably know. With Twilight Princess, it didn't reuse the Zelda Wii U engine. I think it just reused its own engine, but even then they added in a type of multiplayer function similar to Wind Waker with the stamps that you could find. Couldn't you like make messages out of them and send them to people, or what was...
I think you could just post to Miiverse with them. I don't think there was any in-game use for them. And now that Miiverse is dead, there's even less use for them. They're just collectible MacGuffins at this point. It's too bad.
Even if the Breath of the Wild engine didn't have any form of multiplayer, they can always go in and edit or almost any engine to add multiplayer functionality. We have friends that did it with some of the Zelda games on Nintendo 64 and GameCube. So even with those, you can do it. And Nintendo themselves have been doing it with the NES and SNES games, and now the N64 games themselves, stealing the idea from our friends. But the example that I think of is there's a Sonic game for Wii U. I forget which one. But it was created in one of the CryGen engines by Sega. And not the engine by Sega, but Sega developed the Sonic game with that engine, which was only a single player engine. But they went in, and even though the engine already ran poorly on the Wii U, they still customized the engine and added in functionality so it would have online multiplayer, even though it wasn't designed to have it, and even though the Wii U already couldn't run it properly, which made the game end up running even worse. So yeah, but I guess with all of that, what do you guys think to wrap it all up?
Go ahead, Daniel.
Just with the Breath of the Wild multiplayer thing, I think, part of me wonders. I really think, again, I could be way off base, that it was tested for Wind Waker, or maybe Wind Waker was it testing it for Breath of the Wild. Like they put it in Wind Waker to see how it would work for Breath of the Wild, and then for whatever reason decided against it. Maybe it was because of cross-platforming stuff, or maybe it's because Miiverse was planned, like they had plans to cancel Miiverse already. Maybe I don't know.
I forgot.
But that could have been why it never ended up in the final game as well. But I feel like if they were to bring it back for the sequel, then doing something very like Wind Waker HD like would be cool. I know you've mentioned in the past like Wolf Link stuff would work well, and I think that would be a good
that would be for
way to do it,
like
for
full multiplayer.
Yeah, I think, and a lot of people were like, well, a lot of people I noticed commented on your video was like, multiplayer, no, without even watching what you were talking about in the video, because they're like,
I actually
the
same thing happened.
I put up a poll asking people, because I seen it was like there's a bunch of people that loved the idea and a bunch of people that hated it, but it had 2.2 thousand votes, and it says, should Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 feature any form of multiplayer? And then a link to my video. The first one says, I want to explore Hyrule with a friend, but make it optional. Got 65% of the vote. So it seems like most people do want multiplayer. And then the second one was only as it was in Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD, which was just 6%, and that's just basic function messaging people. Four Swords Adventures style, so fully multiplayer, got 2%, and then multiplayer of any kind is horrible, exclamation point, got 27%. So basically
people are of two minds, all or nothing then.
Three-quarters of the people want full multiplayer, and then a quarter basically just doesn't want any.
But then if it's optional, then those people who don't want it don't have to play it. There you go. Options are always good then. But definitely it, like, technically Triforce Heroes is optional for multiplayer, but if you have tried to play that game single player, you know that it sucks. So,
and I think they did the same thing with the Anniversary for Four Swords.
Right. But like Four Swords Adventures has a way better single player experience than Triforce Heroes does. Yeah. And
you're not carrying the person.
Yeah, you don't. Well, I think that's part of the issue is that if you're doing Triforce Heroes, you have to like control each of them one at a time, or carry them, like literally over your head, carry them to make any progress, and that's like cumbersome, right? With Four Swords Adventures, they just follow you. It's like all four characters are in sync, like one unit, as it were. So it works way better. Triforce Heroes.
Minish Cap had a really good way of letting you play as all 4 links and moving them around.
Well, it's very limited in Minish Cap.
Yeah,
really. Like very specific sections.
Yeah.
So there was another thing I forgot about the trading thing was that where was it?
Right, the trading sequence.
Yeah,
you mentioned in your
the
video
trading stuff.
And I had completely forgotten that was a feature.
I did
in
too.
Phantom Hourglass.
There was
but that would work.
Some Patreon people in the Discord that I was letting them watch an early version of the video, and they were like, "So do you think it's going to be like Phantom Hourglass?" And I was like, "What? Phantom Hourglass?"
You know what's funny is I had completely forgotten Phantom Hourglass had any multiplayer whatsoever. Same with Spirit Tracks until your video, and then I just had like a huge flashback. I was in high school and when these games came out, so I'm just making myself old. And a buddy of mine, we had a science class together, and we would spend the whole class just playing the Phantom Hourglass multiplayer instead of doing any work. And it was terrible, and it wasn't good multiplayer. It wasn't a great game for multiplayer. But it was better than doing work, I guess. So, according to Teenage Daniel. So yeah, they had so it had like the small implementations and then a full implementation in Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks, to where you could trade for ship parts, and then I think you could also trade for train parts in Spirit Tracks. Yeah,
and then there was
you put it in a box. And then you open the box to see if you got something, basically. Like, it wasn't like, and then it wasn't very in-depth.
I don't remember what Spirit Tracks was. I didn't look it up, but Phantom Hourglass was
about
like,
the same.
You basically, it's like hide and seek, I guess, while you're trying to find items while you're playing as Link. And then someone playing as one of the Phantom Soldiers chases you down and hits you. And then, so like very basic. Like the Luigi's Mansion multiplayer, I guess.
And what was cool, so
Mario
like,
Odyssey's hide and seek. I don't know.
And it was like you had to collect force gems, and like it was like almost like capture the flag with tons of force gems. But what was cool was only one person needed to have the game to play the multiplayer modes, because they had DS download play, and that's awesome. I love when games do that, because otherwise, both like in most games these days, both people need to buy the game to connect to online multiplayer. But those games did not need that, which is really cool.
Yeah, there's a couple of games on Switch that worked that way. Was Mario Kart like that? To where like you could play as a Mii or Luigi's Mansion?
Well, like the thing is, like, you could do that with two separate systems and have multiplayer that. With Switch's multiplayer games, for any like online play or playing on two different consoles, you need both people to have the game, I'm pretty sure.
All right.
But then otherwise you could do couch co-op on a single console. But download play was great. That was great.
So the trading thing was basically, I don't know if it would be like some way you could trade back and forth with your friends, or so again, very similar to the Phantom Hourglass stuff. And then in the video, I gave the examples of like a new character, or maybe even just Beetle having another option for you to talk to him and then say like, oh, this is what I need. And then if a friend reads it, then they can sell the item to Beetle or whoever the character would be if they have it. Or similar to the idea Daniel and I made a video with, carrying over items and weapons and stuff from Breath of the Wild to Breath of the Wild 2, to where you go to Link's house and the stuff that's hanging on the wall in Breath of the Wild will still be hanging on the wall in Breath of the Wild 2. And if there's anything else that you also want to move over, then you just go back to Breath of the Wild, put it on the wall and save the game, and then go back into Breath of the Wild 2 and it would be there. So the idea that I used was like a chest in your house that you can put stuff in, and then choose like which friend it would go to or something like that. Those are the only ideas that I could think of with trading between characters, unless the character's literally there in the game with you, playing along. Like a lot of people want Zelda and Link to be playable, and then you can just directly trade with the person. That was the last thing. But Rick,
That'd be cool.
Your thoughts on all of that? Not just the last part, but all of it.
I think the trading sequence stuff, what you guys said, would be pretty cool. But for me, I would really like them if they're going to add any type of multiplayer. Like the thing that's in creating a champion is really cool. Like being able to go to the end of a dungeon and then get like some type of secret for like the boss or something like that to help you along would be nice to see implemented. But I would really love to see a similar mechanic, but taken to the next step further as A Link Between Worlds. Where you had the Street Pass functionality of fighting Shadow Link. So instead of it popping in an AI like A Link Between Worlds did with your like items that you selected for Shadow Link or whatever, it would be better if they actually implemented it to where you could do PvP in Breath of the Wild and fight Links. And you get a Shadow Link to actually go on and spawn in the overworld and then track down whoever, they're going to fight, Link or whatever.
Wow.
That
Crazy
would be epic. And it would work because they've done it in, I hate to mention it again, but Dark Souls. I mean, it's a perfect example of how that system could work. They'd have to tweak it a little bit, of course, because Link's not dead, so there's not, ways of going in and out of PvP mode. But I'm sure they could think of something pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a good one for sure.
That would be so fun, and there would be so many shenanigans. But it definitely has to be optional. Like you have to be able to.
Yeah, totally.
Totally. Like
and
that
that's how it works in the Souls series, except for certain areas. Like there's certain areas you'll walk into, or you can intentionally put yourself in PvP mode.
That's cool.
Yeah, so the game can be totally played all the way through without touching any of the story elements or anything like that. Yeah, I think that system would work pretty well.
Now with Breath of the Wild's like openness, though, you have to wonder if like how cool would it be to just used to have someone jump in to do this PvP mode, but they have like they're not tethered to in any way, just absolute free reign over the whole map. Like
that would be crazy.
Like, yeah, you could do some really fun, I don't know, like ridiculous games that way.
Yeah.
Have people like all over the place, and yeah, that would be something. Jesse, did we lose you, baby?
No,
okay. All right. You vanished for a sec, but yeah, that would be wild. That's a really cool idea, actually. I like that. I like that a lot.
And everyone in the chat, let us know what kind of multiplayer stuff you would like. Or oddly enough, we've mentioned ways that Breath of the Wild 2 could have multiplayer without it affecting the game at all, being 100% optional. Basically, like Wolf Link, if a second player could just pick up a controller and play as Wolf Link instead of the computer, then it doesn't change anything at all in the game. And a lot of people, especially new players, play through all of Breath of the Wild without even realizing you can have a companion character. So yeah, would you like it like that, or would you just rather them not do it at all? And another thing, we were talking about reasons why they may have taken it out. I mentioned the Wii U. No? That was for the on-screen HUD stuff.
Right.
Breath of the Wild, the multiplayer stuff that he originally wanted to put into it. One, they could have either already known that they would eventually be getting rid of the Miiverse stuff, or two, it could have just been he had larger plans for it, but because the game was already being delayed, they decided to stop working on the multiplayer stuff and just finish the core game. So that could have just been it. Who knows?
Or maybe they wanted to maybe there wouldn't have been a way to do cross play between the Wii U and Switch versions. Even I could see even just that being a reason to can it altogether, because they wanted to keep those versions as close to to the.
Well, if you think about it, Nintendo's online system wasn't fully fleshed out when the Switch originally launched either.
True.
So they didn't really have the infrastructure to support Breath of the Wild's multiplayer if they were going to add it. But it's something they definitely could have added in DLC later on. You know, if it was originally intended to be in the game.
For sure. But
there's no way
better.
to connect that to Wii U. So
Yeah.
You're right.
But in the sequel, that won't be an issue. We're not held back by the Wii U, right? So,
Right.
Well,
but-
see, we might be held back by the Switch, the regular
Good
Switch.
Good point. But definitely they have to make it better than Mario Odyssey's multiplayer, which I'm not talking about the hide and seek thing. In Mario Odyssey, you can do one player control Mario and one player control Cappy, and it makes the game so hard. Like it's the thing is, like, because when you play single player with Mario, Cappy is really an extension of Mario's abilities in the best way, and the gameplay is so smooth. It handles so well. But when you try to have a Cappy control independently, Mario's mobility just falls apart. You know, it's extremely nerfed and janky. Frankly, it's completely awkward. So if they do something, don't have it has to be a separate character. Like, it can't be some extension of Link's abilities or anything like that. Like, it has to be a wholly separate entity that won't negate any of Link's abilities or anything like that. That's my only concern, is if they do something janky like that.
Breath of the Wild also has. Sorry.
I just was saying, I would never want to do it. Like, if they, whatever purpose Link's arm serves, imagine the second player just controls Link's arm. That's how awkward it would be.
It would be terrible.
Yeah.
So you're the magic hand now, player two. It'd be like playing Skyward Sword with, and I think people do this for fun sometimes, where one person like holds one, like the nunchuck, the other person holds the Wii remote, or now I guess one Joy-Con and the other Joy-Con. So,
That's what people did with Breath of the Wild as well.
yeah.
Even
It was
though that
awkward.
would be less complicated than, well, maybe, I don't know. There's a lot more actions you can do with that you need to do in Breath of the Wild, but on the other hand, literally, Skyward Sword,
Literally,
you have to, there's less actions that you need to do with it, but it focuses more on specific movements. So,
Yeah, but trying to do anything like a spin attack or the fatal blow with two people, they'd have to, like, those are motions where you need to use both hands. So you'd have to
be
like,
shouting at each other like, "Spin attack!
spin attack now, one." It would be a bad tie. Oh yeah.
So, yeah, did you guys have anything else, or was that it?
That's it for me. Right.
All right.
Yeah, same.
All right. The next rumor was part of the last email, but also touches on something that we were talking about last week. Was he mentioned GameCube? The email also mentioned that Nintendo was messing around with GameCube games on the Switch, which is something that we heard a long time ago as well. I think around the same time that we first started hearing the Nintendo 64 games being messed around with. And we know there are GameCube games like Sunshine that are running on Switch, sort of, but then part of it's emulated or something weird like that, which, from what this says, some of the games were having issues running on Switch as well. And then I think the version of Twilight Princess in China is running native on the NVIDIA Shield, which, for those that don't know, is basically just a Nintendo Switch, but without the screen, and just, you can only play it on the TV, I guess. But I think there is a version that comes with the screen on a controller, but I don't know if it's like the exact same or a different model or anything. But anyways, yes, well, that's like a weird mix of like the GameCube, Wii, and HD version, but it's not being emulated. It's running directly on the console. And then, so last week we were talking about the different versions of the Switch, which I guess this can kind of lead into the next thing that we're going to talk about. But I mentioned that if you mod your Nintendo Switch, then and there's some channels like Digital Foundry and some others that show examples of this. Modern Vintage Gamer is another one. There's a lot you can go check out where they do various things with it. It's basically when the Nintendo released the Nintendo Switch, instead of the base clock that it runs at, which is what the chip was designed for, they underclocked it so that it would run cooler and the battery life would last longer and everything. But it was originally designed to run faster. And even more so with the version 2 Switch that released whenever they had the new chips inside of them, which was just like a little bit faster. And then on top of that, not only can you boost it to its original performance, but you can boost it even further to essentially overclock the CPU and the GPU, but it will run hotter and it will drain the battery a bit more. But it's enough to boost games like Breath of the Wild that drop, like if you're playing in docked mode, it'll drop from like 920p, or not 900p, like down to almost 720p. And then it'll go from like 30 frames down to like 15 to 20 or whatever. But that boost, overclocking the Switch, is enough to have it run at like a smooth 900p and smooth full frame rate the entire time. And I think if they did that, then it would also allow them to probably run most of the GameCube games without any of those issues. I don't think that's something they could do, but it would be something that they probably should do, at least. Maybe not overclock it, but like release a patch or something or a new firmware that gives you the option to run the games at the full clock speed. That way games like Breath of the Wild and Super Mario Odyssey or other games don't have that performance thing, which they sort of do already. Whenever the games are loading, they have that CPU boost, so it loads the games faster. And it's basically the same thing. They would just need to leave that boost on instead of just when it's loading. But yeah,
I could see them not wanting to do it just because of the fact that they'll be held liable for pushing a software update that could ruin people's equipment because they lowered it for a reason. You know what I mean? Like your fan could go out, all sorts of different things could happen to your Switch if they gave you the ability to do it. It would be cool. I'd love to crack mine open once I get the whatever next Switch they have and freaking overclock it.
Yeah. But yeah, what are your thoughts on all of that? And then the GameCube stuff to go along with it. Starting with you, Rick.
GameCube stuff, I think it's a natural progression from what we're seeing from Nintendo. You know, everybody's been clamoring for more games, more retro games that you can't really get your hands on anymore. To be honest with you, I would love for them to just freaking open up the floodgates and give us the same treatment we got on the Wii U, but unfortunately the Switch is too popular and we're not going to be able to get that treatment this time. They're going to try to gouge us as much as they can. I love Nintendo, but the prices are kind of crazy. I think the price for the N64 games is actually reasonable because they're giving you those games, the SNES games and NES games, and then you're also getting their online features, which aren't great, but hopefully they get better in the future. I'm just hoping that when we do get GameCube games, if we get GameCube games, that we're not going to get tacked on another freaking $20 for an expansion pass.
Yeah,
that's going to be ridiculous. I mean, like in a year,
expansion
you know.
Pass,
so,
volume 2.
oh, now it's $70 a year to freaking get Nintendo games.
Well, it's already like $80 if you're doing a family plan, right? But
yeah,
actually, I recommend the family plan because then you and 7 buddies can just split the bill, right? And then suddenly
that's true.
It's $10 a year.
That's very true.
Legally,
$10 a year.
By Nintendo, Daniel and I are a family.
Yeah, according to Nintendo, Jesse and I are family.
They have the adoption papers. Or that.
Yeah.
They have the adoption / wedding papers at Nintendo.
Yeah. Wedding?
Who? You're the one that said I was just going to go with adoption. Or no, it was Rick. I don't know.
Adoption.
Anyways,
It was me. I said you guys got married in Hyrule.
That's right.
it's
That's
as
right,
real as
Terrytown.
Canada.
In Cherry.
I just wanted a nice Terrytown, Akala province ceremony. But yeah, no, I think GameCube games is a natural progression as well, like Rick said, and if they do it the same way that they are doing it with these N64 games, where they're adding more online features like the online multiplayer, with they're not adding it into games that didn't have multiplayer, so like there's not going to be Ocarina of Time multiplayer, but multiplayer games like Mario Kart or Mario Party are going to have multiplayer added into them in the Switch Online versions, which is awesome. So my train of thought is like, well, damn, if they do GameCube games, I want to play Four Swords Adventures online. Like, that's what I want. That's gonna be awesome.
Oh yeah. I was thinking of like Double Dash or Melee.
Or yeah, well,
Melee.
Smash is the only one I feel a little sticky about. They didn't announce the N64 version of Smash, and part of me wonders, like, will they do it? Because they, like, a lot of games kind of carry their own weight and like stand the test of time. Smash, I feel like they treat as the series where each installment is meant like a replacement for the previous ones in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Did they ever release
And
it
so-
on Wii U? Smash Bros. 64?
I think you could buy it from Virtual Console. I think. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe then again, I say this, but then Mario Party. So I could be way off base. I could be. But yeah, I mean, GameCube games would be great. I think if they did put Melee with online multiplayer, people would lose their minds.
Oh
I'm
my
not like
gosh,
a Melee
dude.
player, but
Oh my
people would.
gosh.
People would. That would be like the most hype thing for a lot of people.
I'd flip. I never got into Ultimate as much. Like I like the game and all that kind of stuff, but Melee is my freaking jam, dude.
Yeah, Melee was great. Honestly, I
Super
what's that,
chat for
Jesse?
super chat for you.
Oh, Taker 610. Thank you for the super chat. Cap Burson, he meets Bolson's requirements. That's yeah, that's
He does.
that's true. That's
Never
you're
even
not
thought
wrong.
about that.
You're not wrong. But do I meet Hudson's requirements? Because Hudson always you need to have the son suffix, and you also need to be like someone that contributes something. You know,
Where
like
you contribute bananas.
Bananas.
Yeah.
That's right.
You set up a banana hut.
You'll
There you
gather
go.
lunch and dinner for everyone.
Bananas
Or
for
burgers.
all.
It's
Either
like,
one.
what's for
Both.
lunch? Bananas. What's for dinner? Slightly
It's
older bananas.
Burgers. Oh. Oh, but they're mighty bananas, which gives them the strength to get through their workday.
Oh, yeah, that makes
So,
sense.
breaking those boulders doesn't come easy.
What? So, like it would be kind of odd for the GameCube games to be on there if they are having the issues. And then again with Sunshine, I don't know if it was because they updated like some of the textures or whatever, and then I think it was running faster, and then at like 60 frames or something like that. So maybe they just had to have it to where it was like running partially natively, and then some of it was being emulated because of the changes they made, or if the original would also have to go through the same thing. Not necessarily for Sunshine, but just for GameCube games in general. And then whether or not they added the online functionality to them as well, that would probably be another process that the Switch would have difficulty with if it's already having difficulty just running the game.
Process.
Yeah, so I wonder if they would update Switch Online again to add like maybe $10 more and you get the GameCube games, or if they would be individually sold.
Please no.
Please no. Please Nintendo, no. I feel like with the price increase they've already done, like that's where they need to drop.
Yeah.
And I feel like if they're
close to PlayStation and Xbox prices at that point, they're only $10
true.
off.
That's true. And they don't offer nearly as much as those consoles do. And but yeah, I feel like if I feel like there'd be less backlash if they announced this expansion pass and they were like, and GameCube games are coming later. People would be like, okay, you know,
GameCube
no one would,
or GBA, man, like
or GBA, yeah, absolutely.
either
If they
one.
But I mean, it's Nintendo. You kind of have to almost expect that there's going to be more coming, because when they first launched Switch Online, the SNES games weren't a thing. They didn't announce them until way later. They just launched it with the NES games, and they were like, by the way, if you have Splatoon, F you. So, so it's like, no, you were enjoying this free online multiplayer? Not anymore! So, yeah, it was an interesting time. So once you made the jump, and I remember people were complaining about it back then too. They were like, this is not enough value. These are just NES games. Everyone's played Super Mario Bros. 3 a jillion times. We don't need this. But then they later down the line brought in the SNES games, which have some of the best games of all time in that library. So I feel like maybe it's just people got tired of complaining, or people just got used to it. But then certainly the backlash lessened, I guess, as people saw more value in it. So I feel like that's going to be the same thing. Hopefully they add more platforms to this service with the expansion pass, and then maybe people will feel a little more comfortable with that price point.
Yeah, didn't we see the Game Boy stuff
on.
come out like a week, like all the rumors and stuff for Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games came out like a week before the N64 games? The rumors for them?
Yes,
and then
I believe so.
N64 ended up being true. So maybe Game Boy Advance and these GameCube would be eventually as well. But I guess to sort of carry it over to the next topic, if they can't get Nintendo Switches to run GameCube games, which, as I mentioned, they could if they like updated or set the clock speed back to normal or overclocked them, like we've seen on some other YouTube videos. I'm sure they could play them no problem, but as Rick said, maybe they wouldn't want to do that. So this other rumor is basically talking about Nintendo working on the Switch 4K. It's another one of those rumors, but it also mentions that it may not be a Switch, and it may just be a next-gen console, and they think they could see it coming out sometime within the next year. And it, well, what else was it? Oh, yeah, from Nate the Hate. I almost said Nate the Drake. But it's Nate Drake, right? Nate Drake, Nate the Hate.
Yeah, but not the guy from Uncharted.
Yeah.
That's...
Which had its movie trailer come out today.
Which looked surprisingly not terrible, I'm just going to say. When I heard about the Uncharted, just to sidetrack for a sec, Uncharted movie was announced, I was like, this is going to suck. But I saw the trailer today, and I was surprised at how not terrible it looked. I'm just putting that out there.
Tom Holland?
It is Tom Holland, but they're treating it as like a prequel, which is, they're like, oh, he's young because it's like a prequel, instead of just like remaking one of the games, which I think is the best way to do it. Yeah. But anyway, sorry, Jesse.
No.
Please continue.
Way off topic.
Yeah, way off topic.
I'm just looking for... I would like to show it on screen so people can see it, but basically we've covered both of these on we covered them on podcasts before, maybe even before we began the podcast. There was one where it was a patent leak for a next-gen Nintendo console. It was like when Daniel and I first started doing videos together, so maybe 2018.
Well, when we first started the podcast, it was 2017.
Oh,
which is pretty wild. That we've been doing this that long, but because I remember Odyssey was basically brand new in one of our earliest episodes. We were talking about it.
Yeah.
Great game as well. But we got to do something for our 5-year anniversary next year.
That is crazy.
Take me on an anniversary vacation.
Take me on an anniversary.
Come on, Jesse. It's gonna be our anniversary.
Yeah.
You guys got to come to Cali.
Yeah, I'm down. But I'll come. We'll go in January when it's not too hot.
E3 is gonna be your anniversary vacation.
Bold of you to assume E3 will exist next year.
Yeah, I know, right? With the way it's going now, like I said, it's not looking hot.
Yeah, I've heard
Especially
LA
with
pretty bad.
LA right now, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, we'll go to Cali, but not LA.
If they do end up having one, for sure they're going to be doing the passports.
That's already like commonplace here in Canada, by the way. It's like, yeah, that they've rolled that out here. But anyways, that's more off topic than Uncharted. So, Jesse, have you found what you're looking for, baby?
No, I remember it was also around the time whenever I was on a bunch of the Spawnwave podcasts as well, because we talked about it on an episode. If I remember right, it was basically just patents, as well as Nintendo hiring someone or people in general to come on to not just it said develop a console, to help develop like certain aspects of the console, and that would be capable of running next gen engines. And then it was like 6 months or so after the Switch had launched, so it was whatever they had clearly started working on after the Nintendo Switch. So the thing that like people saying that they have rumors or sources saying that Nintendo's working on their next gen console, Nintendo's always working on that. There was also the second thing that I mentioned earlier was there was an actual interview. I don't remember who it was. It may have been with, no, it couldn't have been. I was gonna say it may have been with Iwata, but it couldn't have been because it was after the Switch. But like around the same time or a year after the Switch launched, there was another video that we talked, or it was this time it was an interview with someone at Nintendo, not Aonuma or Miyamoto or anyone like that, but maybe the guy that is now the president or that was the president for like a few months, where they were asked about dual screen consoles, and whoever it was said that dual screens weren't dead, that Nintendo still had a lot of exciting plans for consoles in the future that would make use of two screens. So whatever.
They also said that the Wii U and the 3DS, that the Switch was going to be a third pillar alongside the Wii U and 3DS. So I feel like that was PR fluff, honestly.
It totally was.
Yeah.
Just.
Well, the odd thing was
pillar.
Is that like, yeah, the third pillar stuff is PR fluff, but they usually just straight up deny any consoles and stuff. But them coming out and then stating that, which I have no doubt that they were working on a next gen, whatever would have came after the 3DS. But I don't see it coming out now. I think it was something that they were working on and then just decided to go a different way. And then with
like the Switch fills both markets, both the handheld and the home console markets. There's no point in having a new 3DS
right
at all. So yeah.
And then there was so there was that, and then there was the one that was just a straight up presumably single screen next gen console from the patents and the hiring and stuff. And again, that was like right after the Nintendo Switch had just launched. It was one of the first videos Daniel and I had together. So yeah, like this rumor talking about Nintendo working on a next gen version of the Switch or whatever. Yeah, like even from Nintendo themselves, and even stuff that they didn't talk about publicly but were hiring for, we know that they were working on something for at least 4 years now.
Right.
And yeah, like I've mentioned it a lot, but I don't think at this point a Switch Pro would come out. I think it would just be a straight up Switch 2 or whatever the next console would be. I don't think it would be a half step, especially with the shortage of CPUs and stuff. I don't think they would want to like waste all the money buying the more expensive chips and stuff to just have a half step to where in like another year they have to go back and buy even more for whatever their next one is. So yeah,
it doesn't make sense. A Switch 2 would be, I think, the right move. I really love the Switch concept. So it would almost like Nintendo's a wild card. So unless they pull something out that's like truly fantastic and mind blowing, you know, I would want them to kind of stick with
the Virtual Boy
Switch
2
concept. Oh no!
No, the Switch is technically the Switch is the Virtual Boy 2 because it has the VR mode that you can use on certain games.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Just buy some cardboard.
Like the whole handheld home console hybrid 𝗙𝗵𝗃, like that whole concept, I think is perfect. I love it, and it almost, like, I find sometimes when I sit down to play a game on my PlayStation, for example, I'm always like, I feel so tethered, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I don't have the option to get up and take it elsewhere. Like, for example, I've got a Switch dock here in my my game room or my studio office, whatever you want to call it. And I've got a Switch dock downstairs in my living room hooked up to my main TV, and I can just take my Switch and put it in either way. But if I wanted to do something with my PlayStation and bring it upstairs, like, it's so much more cumbersome to do that setup, you know? And I have to take up the whole TV. Whereas if I'm, say, my wife's watching TV or something and I want to play whatever game on the Switch, I can, like, it's so much more convenient for anyone who doesn't live alone. Do you know what I mean? Because especially if you've got kids, you know, kids occupy electronics a lot, and being able to just play off TV was great on the Wii U, but it's way so much better on Switch. And I just would, it would be, in my mind, like almost a regression or a step backwards to lose that concept or that portability. But sorry, again, ranting.
No, you're good. That's why most people say they like the podcast. So two things. One, really quick, Envy in the chat says it was a mistake, but I still think it's really hilarious. Envy says, I can see Breath of the Wild being late 2022 or 2033 or 2033.
2033. Oh no.
Yeah.
You're more correct than you know.
Yeah. But then the other thing is, so that concept it was easy on the Wii U and then a lot easier on the Switch, especially because then you can just go further than like 10 yards.
Yeah, that's true. And great for travel too. Like obviously these last couple of years there hasn't been any travel, but like when we went to LA, for example, all three of us went and we all brought our Switches, and then even just like hanging out at the airport and stuff, like just being able to
2-hour lines at E3.
Or the 2-hour lines at E3, yeah, just being able to like pull out your Switch and play. And obviously that we could do things with like 3DS or whatever, but it's not the same because you have those console quality games in your hands there. I adore the Switch for that reason.
Yeah.
Or I think we were all sitting there even using one dock and just interchanging our Switches out while we were there.
We totally were. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we just, because it just makes it so easy to do it that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we could just, whoever, we're going to play Mario Kart. Okay, well, one person can put theirs on the TV, and we all got our Switches.
Yeah, because we know it's not going to be Daniel playing Mario Kart. Just refuses.
I'm so bad at Mario
Kart. Someone buy Daniel. See, if it was a new game, then I maybe could request for the game and then give you the code, like with Kina or 𝗵𝗃𝗃 or whatever.
Skatebird.
Yeah, but sadly they're going to be like, didn't we already send you Mario Kart?
Ooh, yeah. The thing is, I never bothered with Mario Kart. Everyone knows it already because I had it on Wii U already, but it's just not. I don't know. I'm just not the biggest.
Did you buy the DLC for Mario Kart?
Sorry?
Did you buy the DLC for Mario Kart?
On Wii U, yeah, okay. I did. I had
so
all
that's
the DLC.
What it is. You're one of those angry people. It's like, I paid $60 for this game, and then another $20, and another $20, and now they're just giving it all away.
I'm not upset about that. I think it's great because it gives the game a second lease on life, right? And other people get to enjoy it. I'm not gonna be one of those salty people like that video. Actually, there's two videos. Actually, we mentioned them earlier. Those Breath of the Wild save file transfer videos we were talking about. There were very salty people commenting on those, and they're like, I don't want anything to carry over to Breath of the Wild 2 because I had Breath of the Wild on Wii U, which reads to me like, I'm I'm missing out on this feature, so everyone must. I am suffering. You too must suffer.
Well, they already did it with Age of Calamity. You get the ladle, right?
The ladle, yeah, exactly. And the thing is, I was like, the things I was suggesting in that video, I was like, your horse. It's easy to catch a new horse. It's no big deal. But it'd be cool if your horse carried over in the stables. It's not like a totally non-intrusive, non-mandatory thing.
Because it has the same stats and name and everything.
Yeah, exactly. And like your bond is already maxed. I was like, see, this is like a really non-intrusive idea. That would be really cool. And people are like, no, no one can be happy because I'm unhappy. So, anyways, that's not me. That's my point. I'm absolutely happy that people got to play Deluxe. Actually, Deluxe had even more features added to it than the Wii U version ever had with the DLC, like the second item box and stuff. So anyways, it's good. Just Mario Kart, I don't like Mario Kart enough to buy it again, if that makes sense. I enjoy it, but like not enough to spend the money again, because it's just not my favorite series. If it was a Zelda game, that's a different story. So that's yeah.
With the Switch, though, the 4K Switch or a new iteration of it, whichever, I really feel like they need to cater to the home console players this time around. I really feel like we got the shaft a little bit the last couple years, because they've come out with 3 handhelds. If you're including the original Switch and then the Switch Lite and then now this freaking the newest one, they're just all being catered to handheld use mostly, except for the dock with the original Switch. So if they're gonna do something to take it up that next level, 4K is really not gonna. It's not going to look that great on that little screen. It's going to look good. Don't get me wrong. It's going to look gorgeous. But seeing it on a screen this large, like the one that I have next to me, a 40-inch, or even a 27-inch monitor, will look light years better than that. And I really feel like they need to... It would be awesome of them to make it to where, yeah, you can play it 4K on the go. And then when you put it in the dock, you get, like, maybe you got 4K 30 FPS while you're on the go, and that's the max the Switch itself or the next iteration can put out. And then you put it in the dock. We've all been talking about this since this thing came out, but you put it in the dock and you instantly get 4K 60.
I would even be happy with 1080p in handheld, and then the dock pushes it up to 4K.
Yeah, that would be cool too, because you know they're gonna run into battery problems. With how big the screen is on that thing and all that kind of stuff. Either you're like, they're probably balancing a fine line in terms of how big it is, how big of a battery they can fit in it. And I bet you supply chain as well right now on all of that stuff is low. So trying to design something right now is probably pretty difficult. But
well, I think some people have said that the OLED was supposed to do more or be, like they speculate at least that the 4K maybe that the OLED was supposed to be a 4K Switch, and it was supposed to be more powerful, but because of things like chip shortages, they weren't able to do that. So they just released what they could.
That's what the one report
did what they could.
said.
Yeah, and I think someone cracked open a
dock
and said that the dock technically can do 4K for the OLED dock, but it doesn't. Like, there's nothing.
Is that Nintendo Prime?
Yeah, he
I'm not
did
sure
it.
Was it?
He did it, but there was also other people that did it. I think he was the first though.
Well, he got an OLED early, apparently.
Yeah, there was a whole problem with them sending them out early.
Which is like pretty wild, but
good for him, man.
Well, yeah, because he was able to do his videos on it before like the big channels like IGN. Right,
a YouTuber's dream, right? A small channel's dream, right there for sure.
Yeah, totally. So I think it was really good for his channel.
We don't get anything early, man.
Well, when Fire Emblem Warriors
put in the work,
I got it 1 day early.
Yeah, that was because people were streaming Breath of the Wild and stuff really early, and just ruining it for everyone.
Yep.
I think I got it
day before it was supposed to come out. Amazon Prime.
I think, yeah, but I think people who were streaming it early and stuff were getting a deep doo-doo. Doo-doo wasn't the word I was initially going to say, but they were getting in trouble. But we have a super chat, Jesse.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't notice it at first, sorry. But NORNARB, aka Brandon, the legend, says, Jesse,
Hi.
I've always wanted to tell you your mirrored webcam drives my OCD crazy, but you do you, boo. Thanks for the super chat, NORNARB. We love you. But you know what it is it's Discord. When you're on a Discord call, your own webcam is mirrored. So, for example, I can see my webcam is mirrored, but for other people, it's not.
I'm actually
so when I look
fixing
at the
that
screen,
right
mine is
now.
not. Ooh. Can you change that in Discord settings? Or
No, I put up another window and then just put my cam on there and then reversed it.
Oh, very makes sense. Makes sense. You know what's always weird though is when I see, you know, like videos of myself or streams of myself and it's not mirrored and I look backwards to myself because I'm used to seeing my reflection mirrored. And, like, my hair is parted on the wrong side. Does anyone here know what I mean? Is it just me?
I do it with my streams where I flip it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get that.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, it looks weird. I'm used to seeing myself mirrored because of literal mirrors and whatnot and webcams. But then, yeah. Anyways, sorry.
No, you're good. I got you.
You were good. Yeah.
Was there anything else? Or did we get everything?
I think so. I think I'm pretty much aligned with what Rick said, though. I definitely would like to see, like, I will play in handheld, but I mostly play docked, so it would be nice to see, you know, that market be catered to a little bit more. Basically what Rick already just said. So I got nothing here to add. Yeah.
Yeah.
We want our cake and we want to eat it too.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm just trying to do this without not looking too weird. Yeah. I think that's everything for this part, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're good.
All right. I don't see anything else. Yeah, so I guess if Geek has the Kahoot thing, do you have it, Geek? Everyone, you can go to start thinking of your questions now for later. The Zelda Mailbag. You can ask us a few questions before we go, depending on how fast we get through the Kahoot questions. Which is a trivia thing. So go to kahoot.it. The Geek Apprentice has made us a Zelda quiz.
Yes.
Usually
now we can finally test Jesse's knowledge.
Yeah. And I have another Zelda quiz next week, depending on when Shubes is going to come back. We have a Twilight Princess quiz. And then I made a just in general Zelda quiz earlier today in case the one with Geek doesn't work out too well. So.
Great.
Does Geek see? She hasn't replied yet. She said she was getting it ready earlier.
She's in the chat though.
Yeah. So. I think earlier I was going to say something about in Breath of the Wild on the Wii U and then Age of Calamity on the Switch. You could have already played through Breath of the Wild and still not gotten anything on the Switch version of Age of Calamity, I meant.
That's true. But I mean, like, the Lucky Ladle was not a game-breaking item by any means. Or no, was it the Training Sword or the Lucky Ladle?
think it was the the pre-order bonus thing.
The save data bonus.
Yeah, you had a save data bonus.
Right.
Oh, it says
So
I
I
love
think
it.
Lucky
How do I
was
change it so
pre-order
y'all can read
bonus?
Lucky Later
questions
was a
and
DLC
answers?
bonus, or not a DLC, but a pre-order bonus.
That's what it was. Yeah, and the training sword was the one you get for save data, having Breath of the Wild save data.
So,
But it was like not a big deal.
the way this would work, Geek, is we'll just play it live on the thing. We won't see the... Wait. Can read questions and answers?
Yeah, because some of the... Remember the first time we tried Kahoot? It didn't show
Yeah. All right.
the
So,
answers. And it just gave us buttons with nothing, no idea what we were clicking on.
all right. So
It was a bad time.
I'm going to do this live for people. If you go to Kahoot.com, this is just for Geek. Go to Kahoot.com, log in, and then you can go to your quizzes, click on the quiz that you made, click play, and then it'll say host or challenge. You click host. It brings up another screen, and then on that screen, there's two white bars. The bottom white bar says game options with an arrow pointing to the side. If you click it and have the arrow point down, it gives you a bunch of options like show question and answers on player's device, the lobby music, friendly nickname generator, randomize, and you just click the show questions and answers is all.
Great.
Yeah. And if that doesn't work out, we can do the general quiz thing that I made.
Yeah, she should be able to do it, though.
Yeah. I think she just messaged. So, yeah, so everyone just goes to kahoot.it, and then the password she just sent me is 31305. So,
Oh, it's the nickname. I have. There's a nickname randomizer.
oh, okay.
Don't get to type my own in. That's fine.
31305.
I will spin. Last spin. Ah, perfect.
I got cheerful sloth.
I'm shining goose.
All right. Wait, Geek, to start it until you see I have the thing on screen. No, I guess we don't need it on screen. Do we? No. All right.
Why not? Put it up. Slap it up there.
All right. All right.
Slap it a screen. It'll be delayed for anyways, so people can't really. The stream is delayed for the answer. So if there's viewers playing. Rick, what did you spin as? What nickname did it give you?
I just got the code right now.
Ah,
We will see.
we'll see. No one can beat Shining Goose. That's unless it was Untitled Goose or Untitled Groose.
I got Flying Tiger.
Ah. It's a martial arts style. Flying Tiger, Shining Goose.
Sounds like Pokemon games.
Yeah, which Pokemon did you get? Flying Tiger or Shining Goose?
So we can start whenever, Geek.
Excellent. That's better than Pokemon Sword, Shield, and Gun.
And I'll try my best to read out the questions as well.
This is great because usually Jesse makes these quizzes, and then he just mocks me the whole time that we're doing it. So this is good though. we can finally test Jesse's knowledge.
I don't know if she's waiting on a certain number of people to join, but I would say 1 minute for each question. All right, that's fine. That's just 10 minutes.
Yeah, that should be good. 10 minutes max.
Remember, everyone, you can join at any time. 31305. Can you type that in chat, Daniel?
Geek already did. She already put it in chat.
Okay, and then let's see here. Yeah, you can join at any time. The faster you answer the correct question, the more points you get. Daniel has won almost every one except the last two. Did you win the last one?
Yeah. The last one was a particularly shameful defeat.
It was won by Jorge.
Yeah, but it's those were some really hard questions last time. Like, one of the questions was like, how many keys do you find in this one dungeon?
She said starting now. There it is.
Oh, excellent. Here we go.
Oh, here we go.
Like, I don't know how many keys are in the fire temple. Like, you know, that was one of the questions.
Quiz. What color is Groos's Loftwing? Gold, green, purple, blue. Everyone's gonna like just visually see me get all of these wrong.
Oh no. It's hard to know what color his Loftwing is, because usually Groos doesn't have his Loftwing because he's usually on the loose.
Hey, stumped me with this one.
All right, so
I might have picked the wrong answer, actually.
It goes to the next question either when everyone answers or the 1 minute passes. So everyone can answer, and then even if it's less than a minute, like if everyone answers in the first 10 seconds, then it'll only last 10 seconds.
I got it wrong. I was trying to visualize the cutscene at the end when he's flying away and they're, kind of staring off at him and everything.
I know. Here's the thing too, is a little shameless plug, is my video that's coming out tomorrow is about Groot, and I had that scene, that shot in the video of him, like waving on the Loftwing, and I'm like, and I remember that the Loftwing has the same hairstyle as him. It has the pompadour.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so some names from the chat. 𝗵𝗃 is Daring Gecko. You won't see me though. I'll probably miss every question. Aaron is Flying Tiger. Natsu is 𝗍𝗵𝗃 𝗔𝗍𝗄𝗃.
There's 2 flying tigers?
Is there?
I am the Flying Tiger.
I guess there's...
Unless there's 2.
Oh, maybe he's saying Flying Tiger is good. I thought he was saying that he liked his. It says I'm on the podium.
Which one was it, Jesse? Was it green?
Purple. How many main dungeons are there? Oh, Skyward Sword. Oh, jeez.
These are all Skyward Sword questions, aren't they?
Yeah. So these are all Skyward Sword, everyone. My questions were too hard, so we asked Geek to...
That's good. How many keys are in the fire temple? Who knows? This one I remember because I ranted at you about you putting the wrong amount of dungeons in the Twilight Princess quiz. Or when you said you did the quiz, how many dungeons are in Twilight Princess, you put the wrong. So that's how I remember what this is. I'm not going to let you live it down.
I got the same amount of points again.
Woo! It's 7.
Jesse knows the answers.
He knows. He's cheating.
Oh,
okay.
How many times do you have to defeat the imprisoned?
One of the options is too many.
That's the right answer, right?
That one better be the right answer.
I'm clicking on it anyways.
Too many. Does it give it to you?
All right.
Yes.
If you're just watching in the chat, if you're just watching in the chat, let us know who you think's going between Rick, Daniel, and I. Who's going to come in which place? Just between us 3. So Daniel first, Rick second, me third. What order do you think it's going to be in? Just between us.
I can give you all a hint. I'm gonna be last.
Well, you got this one right. Too many.
And she didn't give me the questions or answers ahead of time.
That's great. I didn't know that you could have more than one right answer, because 3, which was correct, was the one I picked, which was correct as well. So I guess you can put more than one. That's great.
What Easter egg is found in Zelda's room? Oh, jeez. I think I got this one wrong.
This one's unforgettable.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can't forget the boy.
How could you forget him? He's ready to mingle.
I thought it was in Link's room for some reason.
Link has a bunch of other stuff, like a loftwing carving and stuff, but no, Zelda has the tingle. Out of context, that sounds like a really
oddly
weird
enough
sentence.
My little brother called me earlier, maybe this was last night, he was telling me in Skyward Sword, he said something about getting into Zelda's room with a glitch in the Wii version or something like that, but then in the Switch version you can just go into it without having to glitch. Do you guys know what he was meaning?
I don't know. I know in the Switch version, once you, like, after you go in there the first time where you have to go in through the vent, then you can just go in through the door without having to go back.
Is that in the Wii version as well?
I don't remember if that was in the Wii version.
And then he said the gravestone to the what year was Skyward Sword first announced? Oh jeez.
Announced.
Oh shoot.
Announced, not released.
It depends. Are you going by the image they released, the poster, or like actual announcement? I bet I got this one wrong. But the grave you have to go to get to the demon guy that you give the gratitude crystals for, he said it changed.
I don't think so. I have to double check.
And they said something about doing a backflip or not having to do a backflip on it or something like that.
You never had to do a backflip on the grave.
I don't know.
I'll check, because I have played through Skyward Sword HD 3 times, and I also streamed.
Oh, I got this one wrong.
Wait, I got this wrong.
Same.
I was so confident about it.
I can tell.
I wasn't, I guessed. I was not confident about it at all. But I hit 2010. That was not right.
Comment in the chat and let us know if you meant the poster for Skyward Sword that had like the Twilight Princess art style, or the actual game being like revealed and shown off and stuff. I think it was just the first CG trailer with him jumping off the island at first.
It was 09 then.
Must have been because I picked 08.
I picked 2010.
What game does the mini boss of the Earth Temple mirror? Oh, jeez.
What game does the mini boss? Oh, I had to like read that twice to understand the question.
Oh no, I think I got it wrong. Jeez.
There's another game that has almost the same mini boss in its similar themed dungeon.
All right, we're on a delay and there's been some time. Which answer did you think it was, Daniel? I picked Wind Waker.
Ocarina of Time.
In the Earth Temple?
So the Earth Temple in Skyward Sword, the mini boss is a pair of Lizalfos fought on a bunch of hexagon-shaped platforms.
Okay.
It mirrors the Dodongo's cavern fight in Ocarina of Time, which is exactly the same.
For some reason, I was thinking of the hand thing in Wind Waker. I don't know, because they're in like every game. And then what I thought of was Skyward Sword has the enemies who has the shield. You have to like get rid of their shield before you can attack them. And then A Link Between Worlds has something similar. What puzzle threw long-time Zelda players off? Stone, Sandship, the ball.
Oh, I think I know this one too.
I have no idea.
Yeah, Geek said 2009. That's what it was. It was 09. Well, if you take the average of what Rick and I said,
Yeah, and you had it. Then we make one correct answer.
Exactly. So we should each get half. Yes, I got it right.
I'm in
The
fourth
eye.
place.
So I actually mentioned this in one of my 𝗙𝗵𝗲𝗃𝗄𝗃 video as well. Is that the first time I played Skyward Sword, when I saw the eyes in 𝗙𝗵𝗃𝗄𝗃, I thought I had to shoot them with the slingshot, but you don't. You don't do that. Totally, but like Zelda games totally conditioned me to shoot eyeballs, aim for the eyes, always. But not this time.
Oh,
Okay.
which dungeon does not fear?
You're a mini boss. Got it.
No, I picked the wrong one.
Ooh, what'd you pick, Jesse?
So I picked Skyview Temple, but I was thinking of the temple in the sky.
Sky Keep
Yeah.
has a mid boss though.
Well, tell that to my past self.
It has Dreadfuse, who is just basically 𝗟𝗏 again. But no, it's should be, if I got it right, it's still loading. Should be the neighbor mining facility.
I'm in fifth place.
Man, I was gonna pick that too.
2 points behind Rick. Wait, you're flying Tiger, right?
Yeah, I'm flying Tiger.
Okay. I'm 2 behind you.
I don't know what place I'm in. I have no idea. It doesn't show me.
Because you're in first.
No, that might be. There's no one for it to say how far behind I am.
What story was the section of the ancient cistern based on? None. It was completely original.
There's 2 here that are kind of, but one is, I think, more correct.
I am behind Wise Deer.
Wise deer. Shining goose. The Buddha being one of the answers is kind of almost like a red herring, because there's the giant Buddha statue, right? And Buddha it plays a heavy part in the actual correct story. The spider thread one. I'm just gonna say it since the delay's been long enough. I love that dungeon, by the way. That's my favorite dungeon in Skyward Sword.
After
Ancient
this,
System.
A good one.
we're going to
for
do
sure.
questions? Or do you guys want to do another round? What was the inspiration of Tantalus?
Come on,
these are the
it's obvious answer.
These are the funniest answers.
So, if we do the trivia thing that I made earlier, it'll take about 4.5 minutes.
I can do that, and then I have to bounce off for dinner.
All right.
Late dinner, Rick. Mr. Night Owl. Here.
Everyone, post your questions in the chat. You can post your questions in the chat right now, and then we will, after the game, we will read through them. But get the questions already there, so we don't have to wait on questions whenever they come.
Excellent. Oh, Geek says she'll post the stats when they're done on stream. Excellent. Right. That question was so funny. Oh my gosh.
I got it correct.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
I'm in 4th place still.
Mike Wazowski.
Wait, so was that the last question?
Was that? Oh yeah, 10 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. That was the last one. Drum roll. Let's see.
Top 5. I think
this was a very
4th.
fun one though. This was a fun quiz. Lots of laughs in these ones. First place.
Did you?
Bada bing, bada boom. It came up on my screen. Beautiful.
I got 5th.
Oh. You're first in my heart.
It doesn't tell me.
Thank you, Daniel.
Boom. I took a picture just so Jesse can't doubt me. Just is a big number 1. So Jesse won't.
He's rubbing it in your face, literally.
Jesse can't accuse me of fraud. That was good though, Geek. Thank you for making that quiz. That was fantastic. That was so funny. There's a couple. There was a couple ones that were like really funny. The imprisoned, though, just too many.
Yeah, that was perfect.
Too many. Perfect.
All right, let me turn the music off here.
There was music
on the other. When you host it, it gives like a doot doot like elevator music.
Oh.
All right, so this one will be quick. It only gives you 20 seconds to answer, so at the most, like 4.5 to 5 minutes. It's 656 7071. 656 7071.
Okay, we're doing trivia round 2. I'm no longer Shining Goose.
Yeah, this one is I think it's Zelda 64 1/3.
That is not the right code, my friend.
656 7071.
Yep. I got it.
Other people are joining.
Don't let me in. Let me refresh. I just copied it straight from your.
There's a
thing in
Walmart
the chat.
Jesse. We got 7 people.
Yep.
So we'll give it.
Aaron in the chat says whenever I hear elevator music, I now think of Metroid Dread. That's a reference to my last Metroid stream. I found some like royalty-free elevator music and kept playing it every time you were in it. Every time
There
I was
we
in
go.
an elevator.
So
It
30
was good.
seconds, everyone. 30 seconds. We got 7 people in right now. 8. Birdman, Thyla, VK Games, Sergeant, Walmart Jesse, Geek Apprentice, Wise Deer Part 2, Captain Bergerson. Are you in here, Rick?
Almost.
All right. You better. You got 10 seconds, or else you're getting the boot. All right. Natsu says he's Walmart Jesse. Hestu's gift. We got. Are you Hestu's gift?
Yes.
Okay. All right. 10.
Well done.
9,
Well played.
8, 7, 6, 5. There's Hyrule Warrior. 4, 3. You can join after it starts too. There's Betsy. 2, 1, and we are going. 656 7071. 2 people joined at the last second. No one else, and we're gone. You can still join in.
If
Zelda
you
Quiz
dare.
64 1/3. I did not test this one, so there may be some
Okay.
shenanigans. Which mask was replaced by Fierce Deity mask in Majora's Mask? None, Adult Link, Gerudo, Rito.
Rito would have been interesting.
Which mask
Would have been.
did the Adult Link mask, or I just gave it away.
Oh no. You just said the answer. Hopefully everybody's already. Good thing for that stream delay. Everybody's already gotten their answers in, I'm sure.
The answer was none.
None. No mask.
Remember, questions in the chat. Alright, I think that's everyone. Captain Bergerson in first, Betsy, Geek Apprentice, Walmart Jesse, and then Hestu's Gift. In Ocarina
His
of
turn
Time,
is coming
Link
for you,
originally
Daniel.
gained a fairy because all Kokiri are meant to have a fairy. He had to help save the Deku Tree. He became an adult. He needed to leave Kokiri Forest. So I purposefully made this one not as easy because I knew Geek was making an easy one. So this is some behind-the-scenes knowledge you have to have, guys. Remember what I...
2 of these are kind of correct.
Yeah.
Because in an early version of the script, you had to find Navi inside of that first dungeon. But I know which one you mean, and that's also, I think.
So you think it would have been had
What-
to help save the
your
Deku Tree?
Yeah, that was part of one of the early versions of the script had it.
Yeah.
That's the one that came out in the F-Zero leak, the 97 build. You would have had to have rescued Navi from inside the Deku Tree, so you wouldn't have started the game with Navi, which is interesting. In that,
but then it would have been saving the Deku Tree, is what I would have put. Instead of had to help save. I don't know.
The coming of age thing, I think, was even earlier. You said originally, so technically.
For those who don't know, in the original Zelda, the Kokiri apparently weren't kids. They were just normal people, and Link got his fairy not because he had to help necessarily the Deku Tree, but because everyone gets a fairy when they become of age. And in this version of the game, Child Link did not exist. It was only Adult Link. So he got it because it was his birthday and he became an adult. And they also had it so that Kokiri, after a certain time, after so many years, they would just disappear. This is like right after they introduced Child Link. And they also mentioned not only would the Kokiri disappear after so long and then new Kokiri be born, but at this point Link was also planned to be a Kokiri, and they said the same thing would happen to him, that he would just disappear like the rest of the Kokiri.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Poof.
Dark.
It's really wild that game's development history, like how many changes it went through.
Do you remember the hint I gave earlier?
Failed.
When I said remember this for later? Next question.
No.
What size fish does Link need to catch to receive the Silver Scale, Ocarina of Time?
He doesn't. You receive the Silver Scale in the diving game, don't you?
Then it's the Golden Scale.
Or, yeah, that would be the Golden Scale then. You receive from the fishing pond.
Then I was lied to. Everyone got it anyways. No?
I did not. Oops.
Yeah, I let time go up. I was listening.
I think everyone would have. They knew what I meant.
It wasn't because you have to catch it as Adult Link. Is it not the 20-pounder? Shouldn't that be the right answer?
No, this was Child Link.
But Child Link gets the Silver Scale from the diving game in Sword.
Yeah.
Then Zelda Wiki was messed up then.
Zelda Wiki let you down. They dropped the freaking ball.
All right, next question.
I'm pretty sure Golden Scale's a 20.
The only time Link speaks in Twilight Princess is in Kakariko Village, Hyrule Castle, Ordon Village, Hyrule Field.
There's no all of the above.
A bit of a red herring question.
How's it? You actually verified this one.
It's more, well, yes, that's true, but it's more or less like a like Link in the game is always implied to speak. You never get like on-screen text that says exactly what he's saying, but there's loads of times where it's implied he's speaking.
The thing I was looking at, well, I showed it to you, or I told you about it.
Yeah, but that thing was wrong. I had just played through.
No, because you mentioned it was when. Because I asked you if there was a time when he speaks to that one woman, whatever her name was, and you said, but you said, but that's with anyone you talk to. Like the screen kind of fades away and there's text on it or whatever, and basically letting them know that he saved the children or whatever.
Yes. But you don't see on-screen text of what Link is saying. Basically what happens is you go to talk to the parents to tell them that their kids are safe, they're alive, and in Kakariko, they're not dead. Basically, the screen cuts to black, and then it cuts back, and the parents are like, "Oh, my kid's not dead. Thanks, Link. Bye." So that's it. It's not
next question.
very robust.
When does Link speak in Wind Waker? When meeting the Deku Tree, when meeting Princess Zelda, pretending to be a cat, pretending to be a mailman.
Why isn't Tower of the Gods in here, Jesse?
Because having two answers would have been...
Come on!
Pretending to be a cat. Everybody,
I love that. Meow.
Wants to be a cat.
Meow.
6. Excluding the Wind Waker timeline, which region has not flooded? Lineru, Eldin, Faron, all have flooded. excluding the Wind Waker timeline.
In which everything is flooded.
Yeah,
So-
it would have just... Yes. Because Faron Woods floods for the one thing, and then Lanayru Desert was flooded for the thing. That was why I didn't understand when everyone was so dedicated to the Breath of the Wilds and the Wind Waker timeline, because you can find salt rocks places and Hyrule flooded with the ocean. That's why there's salt rocks there. I was like, yeah, but there's also the flood that happens to Faron Woods in Skyward Sword. And then they just straight up tell you in the Lanayru used to be a desert, and then or not a desert, but it used to be a vast ocean, and you can even sail on it with the time shift stone. So it's like everything was basically flooded long ago.
True. Real true fact.
Daniel back in first. Twilight Princess, which item does Link not receive in Snow Pink Ruins? Pumpkin, cheese, fish, bottle. Snow Peak Ruins, the dungeon. Which item does Link not receive?
Okay.
You were the last to answer. Yeah, it's fish. You have to get the bottle from Yeti, and then
Does she? I don't think she gives you a bottle though, does she?
and then you have to get the pumpkin and the cheese from the chest. You get a bottle. Yeah, the thing also said bottle. You buy it from her and you get a bottle with it.
Isn't Yeto?
Next question. Which is not a boss in Minish Cap? Georg, Choo-Choo, Goma, Gleerock. Which is not a boss in Minish Cap? Goma.
Oh shoot! I got this wrong.
Yeah, it's got a giant green choo-choo. Georg is like a weird thing with the baby Georg beside it.
You're right. Yeah, because I saw Georg and I my brain went straight
Geek
to
was the
Majora's
only
Mask.
one that got that right in the top 5.
GG's. Yeah, my brain
9
went
out of
straight
10.
to Majora's.
In Majora's Mask 3D, the Mask of Truth is obtained in Swamp Spider House, Ocean Spider House, Grotto, Pirate Fortress.
I think this is the same for both versions, is it not?
It said it wasn't. Grotto. Only
What
2
do you get
people.
there instead?
You get it in the Grotto in Majora's Mask 3D. I don't know where it is in the
In the original, it's in the Swamp Spider House. In the
Yeah, that's what I clicked.
That's what I clicked as well. Are you
This-
sure they changed that though?
Yeah, this is the thing. You get
What
it in the
grotto?
Grotto because it was in a list of things that was changed. Because it mentioned selling magic beans at the bank or something like that as well, and a bunch of other stuff. Last question.
Majora's Mask is whack.
The Master Sword can be upgraded to become the White Sword, Gilded Sword, Razor Sword, Tempered Sword. I thought this one was kind of easy.
This is a good one. I like this.
It's like, this is the kind of questions you should have, Jesse.
Yeah, Jesse.
Easy ones.
No, okay, so some people said the White Sword. The White Sword becomes the Master Sword.
So there's a white sword in Zelda 1, but the Master Sword's not in that game.
Yeah.
And
Well, technically, if you're thinking about it, I mean, the white sword was the
goddess.
inspiration to the.
Oh, the
to
white
it
sword's
in-
like the
for-
mid-tier
yeah.
one in Zelda 1, though.
Yeah, that's
Geek,
true. That is
Geek
true.
came in third. Second,
It's the next,
Batsy first. Dun da 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 da. Capped Burgers.
Yeah, freaking fifth again.
With Hyrule Warriors in fourth and Hestu's Gift in fifth. All right. Awesome. Before you leave, Rick, let everyone know where they can find you. I put your Twitter and stuff in chat earlier, but...
Okay. You guys can all find me. Just look up RMFH on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff, and I will come right up.
It's true, he will. Sometimes he has pizza.
Rick, what are some fun ways people can remember those initials?
A good one that I go off of is just Rick, my friend Hood.
There you go.
But there's that. There's Rick Smith's from Hyrule is also another one that I think I have it in the description on the channel. I think I could be wrong, but it's been a while since I changed it.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I will see you all later, and I'm gonna go get some dinner.
All right. Have a great day.
Enjoy eating.
Have fun. I'll keep watching.
All right.
Peace.
Bye.
Good. Now we can talk smack. No, I'm just kidding.
Always.
I'm kidding.
So now it's time for the Zelda Mailbag. If you are a Patreon supporter, you can get your question guaranteed to be answered first, or you can just give a question in the chat. We didn't have any Patreon questions this time, so
For shame.
that's why I asked everyone to put a question in the chat. We'll do 2 since we had 2 rounds of the thing, and then we will go. But usually if we have Patreon questions, we try to get through all the Patreon questions. And remember, if you leave a thing on iTunes, a review, we will read it first like we did earlier. So
what he said.
Put in your questions if you have not already.
I'm going to also check in the Discord here, in the old 𝗵𝗄𝗃𝗄𝗃 Discord. See if there's any mailbag, because there's a whole Zelda mailbag channel there.
Yeah, join the Discord.
Such as, what do you want to see in Breath of the Wild 2? We answer that question, Jillian,
almost every week.
all the time. So I'm just going to say no.
Mario Garcia says, do you think that in the next generation, you can keep looking for one while I read this one if you want, Daniel. This was just one that was in the chat, because he listened and posted it in the chat when I said to.
For sure.
Do you think that in the next generation Nintendo console will let us use Switch game cartridges like what they did with the 3DS and DS? So in the DS and 3DS, not necessarily 3DS times, but in the DS times, and the GBA, because the original DS could play GBA games, they had various mostly pirating reasons to make the cartridges the way they used to make cartridges, but now they can make the cartridges anyway, because now that games can be downloaded onto the console, you don't necessarily have to mimic the cartridge to do it. So whichever way the games look now is, I think Nintendo obviously could just keep them that way. There's already a bunch of games that you get on the cartridge, but then you also have to get like other parts of the game downloaded to the actual console. So the only reason I could think of is if they didn't want a game to be like half on a cartridge and half on a console, but even then you're still going to have updates and probably DLC anyways. So there's no real reason for them to change it. The design, it would probably be cheaper for them to keep it the way it is, or even make it even smaller. I don't know exactly why they say the limit to the size they have is however many gigabytes they said they were.
Well, like they had a limit. I think it was like 16 gigs or something, but then they've made carts that have more than that, I think.
Because you can buy the little teeny tiny mini SD cards that have like 250, like the ones you literally put in your Switch are like a tenth of the size and a tenth as thin.
So, just a thought though, like with Switch carts, those are like an SD card you're going to put in your Switch once, you're going to leave it there, right?
Yeah.
With like a Switch card, it's something you're going to be taking in and out constantly. So if you make it too small, then there's concerns like losing it, like just dropping it and losing it. That's already a concern with how small they are. Or like even just damaging them, because they're I wouldn't want them to make them much smaller than that, basically.
I wasn't saying that they would make them smaller. I'm just saying that the only reason that I could see them having is to change the file size of the actual Switch carts that we have now. But even on those Switch carts, they're like 10 times bigger and 10 times thicker than a normal mini SD card. And the SD cards have up to 250 something, 500 or even more gigabytes on them.
Yeah. It's wild.
And can be incredibly fast as well. So really, if little teeny tiny cards that small can fit that much data, then there's honestly no real reason Nintendo should come out and say that there's a file limit size, unless the Switch itself just has issues reading file sizes larger than that, in which case, because it would be a new console, they could just fix that.
True.
Like DS to 3DS, the only difference was like the little teeny tiny square thing sticking off the side.
Right. But I think backwards compatibility is always a good thing, you know? Obviously, we didn't have that switch to Wii U, but Wii U had Wii backwards compatibility. And like you said, the 3DS and DS did. The DS with GBA did. I think the Game Boy Color could play Game Boy games. I'm not sure if the GBA could play Game Boy games or not, but they could. Okay, so I mean, Nintendo's got a decent history of backwards compatibility, but I would like that if they did, if they did it. I think that would be a good safe bet. But at the same time, like it depends on what format they want to do with whatever next console it is. But I hope they do, even if it has to be a separate slot.
Did you have a question picked out?
I didn't look for questions. Oh no, I did in Discord, but there wasn't really. Okay, there's one here from Envy. What would Breath of the Wild be like on the Twilight Princess engine? That's the question.
Breath of the Wild on Twilight Princess engine?
Yeah, it would be limited. That's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah, that was the same word I was gonna use. There would be no anything at all that requires any type of physics would be gone from the game.
Yeah.
Except Link rolling down hills when he's attacked. That might still be there.
Right.
But
yeah, no, there's not really much. Like, there's no like ragdolling in.
You still have the Rivali thing. You would not have like magnesis. You could still have a form of stasis.
True. I feel like overall the game would probably feel more stiff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you could
just
have
like with Breath of the Wild, because its physics engines is really like intertwined with everything that's going on. Everything feels very fluid, like motion has impact on other things. What your actions, you walk through grass kind of bends, you know, things move in the wind. Its physics engine is really in depth and complicated and wonderful. Twilight Princess, in comparison, I love the game, don't get me wrong, but its strength is in its like level design. Not its physics is really stiff in comparison. That just comes with age because it's an old game.
If you took the physics engine from Twilight, if you took Twilight Princess and put it in the Breath of the Wild engine, the spinner would be a lot more fun.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
because if you could use it like a shield surf that didn't break. Yeah, like a shield surf that doesn't break and can just like expand really quick and attack.
Yeah, actually. that would be wicked. That would be so. On the flip side, Breath of the Wild and the Twilight Princess, shield surfing would just suck.
It would be the snowboarding.
Oh yeah, there is a snowboarding in Twilight Princess.
But it's like you just go on that path and that's it.
Yeah, it's very like isolated in comparison. But that's all you would get.
That was a good question.
That's
surprisingly a question we've never had.
That's true. There's not too many of those.
All right. So last question from. I'll give someone 5 seconds before I go with this other question. 5.
Not enough time.
4,
The stream's delayed.
3, 2, 1. All right.
I have the stream up. You haven't even started counting down. We're still talking about Twilight Princess. Anyways, it's fine. What's the question?
I thought we were done. It says from. No, it was up above.
I just mean the stream is delayed, so that's not enough time for people to react to your countdown.
I can't find the question now. A quick one. Engelbart Carranza says. Again, I hope I pronounced that right. It says, Jesse, do you think Nintendo will remake Oracle of Ages season? No, I do not. I think Grezzo would be the most likely, and I don't think that is the game that they've been working on. Jesse,
I would love it though if they
yeah,
did.
it would be great, but from a business standpoint, there's other stuff they could do to make 10 times as much money in a quarter of the time. So
True,
I think that would be the direction they would go.
But I want them to.
Yeah.
I want to play the Oracle games. And like I know you said the Link's Awakening engine, there was too many issues. But like a Link, that style of remake, that was a very faithful remake, but like very polished. That's what I would want to see for Oracle games for sure.
There was
What's the real question?
That was the thing. Oh yeah, here it is. From Natsu, Patreon supporter. It says, I don't know, what do you think Nintendo might do with areas that will feel empty without the Sheikah slate? So presumably this is Breath of the Wild 2. There are areas that you can't really do much in unless you have Sheikah slate.
Yeah, or they just say this. That's because of Sheikah tech. So like,
Sheikah tech.
Even shrines, I guess as well. Shrines and towers. Take those out of the equation. There's some big empty spots now. I feel like they've taken enough time to add in lots of interesting things into the world. Like that's basically, they have the world already. So the time that they've spent working on this game has been to add more fun and interesting things to do in that world.
You know what I would love to do?
And stuff. So what would you love to do?
I would love just to pay Nintendo another $50 for DLC, and then they just release the Tokyo, or not Tokyo, the map of Japan that they made in Breath of the Wild's engine for the beta that they showed off at
it wasn't all of Japan. It was like just Kyoto, wasn't it?
Yeah, I said Tokyo first, but yeah, I couldn't think of the city in Japan. But yeah, it was Kyoto, and then they had landmarks from other places, and then they basically, for those that don't know, Hyrule and Breath of the Wild is based around Kyoto.
Right.
With some minor changes. Like if you look at the location of one important place to another, like how far in the direction between the Temple of Time and Hyrule Castle, or where the Rito live and where the Gerudo live, the major areas, they're all placed in areas where major tourist attractions or major areas would be in Kyoto, Japan, which is where Nintendo's headquarters is.
They were also saying like they were also trying to measure distance of like how far would it take to walk to.
Yeah.
Interesting. In real life in Kyoto, like even just going down the street to a corner store or whatever. And
it says shrines and towers.
Right. So for like
finish what you were saying though.
Right. So then they're using that sort of distance of like how long do you have to walk to get towards something interesting to gauge how far apart to place landmarks or shrines or ruins or just things of interest around the world, which I think is great considering how dense the world is in Breath of the Wild. Like people complain the world is very empty. I'm like, am I playing the same game as you? Do you know what I mean? I have no shortage of things to do in this game at all. I'm constant. People know this watching my streams, Breath of the Wild. I get distracted all the time. I'm like, I'm gonna do this today, and I do like 5 other things, and I'm like, oops, I got sidetracked. I gotta now go do this thing. So I don't know. That's just my thought. It's But yeah, I think there's gonna be enough interesting stuff to do in the sequel. Truly.
Jeremy in the chat says I went to university in Kyoto. That is really, really awesome.
That's cool.
You probably ate somewhere with someone working on a Zelda game and not even realized it.
Well, Kyoto's a big city, so
yeah. So with shrines and towers, they were gone in Breath of the Wild 2 trailer that we've seen. Presumably they just went back down since they weren't necessarily needed anymore. The pillars are gone as well, aren't they? In front of the castle.
Yes. Yeah, the big Sheikah pillars are gone.
Yeah, which, for those that don't know, in lore, that's where they hid all of the guardians. Like, that's where they were stored at.
Yeah.
And then
that was something I liked in Age of Calamities. They actually showed that. Because it was in the concept art and stuff. Like they had planned for it to be that, and then they put it in creating a champion. Showed Guardians would come out of it. Basically, like they were just like big storage basins for the Guardians, and then when Ganon showed up, they would emerge, deploy all the Guardians to go kill Ganon. Of course, that didn't work out because he corrupted them. But then in Age of Calamity, whether or not, however you want to debate its dubious canon, whether or not it is or isn't, doesn't matter. The fact that they showed that I thought was really cool. That's technically that idea is canon. That's what they had it planned. They just never showed it. So, but it's even mentioned in Zelda's journal that they couldn't find those pillars. They were looking for them, but couldn't find them, which was interesting.
The design thing with them I thought was weird is if it truly meant to protect Hyrule, you would imagine they would extend outwards, not towards the castle.
Unless they knew that's where Ganon would spring up from. Right?
True.
Like if they knew Calamity Ganon's going to show up and going to show up right at the castle, so they build it in a perimeter around the castle, and they extend inward toward the castle to just unleash all the Guardians towards Ganon when he shows up.
Okay, I got you. I was thinking just like protecting the castle in general. Like if they got the spiked logs or something, it's always facing away from.
Oh, yeah.
But
that's a good point.
And then I was thinking they could use like the top of the pillars for arrows or aerial defenses or whatever. But yeah, you're completely right. They would have known Ganon. Presumably, they would have known Ganon was buried beneath Hyrule Castle for whatever reason. They have them there, and then, But the one question, 𝗷𝗵𝗲 has already had interviews even back when Breath of the Wild was coming out with DLC. That he was interested in further developing. No, he was asked in an interview if he was going to add more areas to Breath of the Wild for the DLC or for the next game or something like that. And he said that he loved the world that he had already created so much that he just wanted to spend more time in it and further developing it. One of the things he said about the overworld in an interview before it came out was that he wanted it to have a dynamic overworld, and the only thing we really have with that is like clearing out a Bokoblin camp, which almost every game does, and then Tarrey Town. So I expect the world of Breath of the Wild 2 to have more areas like that, maybe slowly rebuilding a bunch of stuff, which is what people wanted in the DLC. And for those that don't know, Nintendo lately has been listening to what fans want and don't want, which is
watching.
Yeah, which is how we ended up getting Skyward Sword from Twilight. Well, really, it's how we got Twilight Princess from Wind Waker, because that was all complaints. People complained Twilight Princess was too empty, so instead of giving a huge empty overworld in Skyward Sword, they made smaller areas that were packed with tons and tons of stuff to do. And then people complained about having no overworld, so then they made a giant. So for the people that says Nintendo doesn't listen to fans, yes, like literally every single Zelda game is the way it is because of the stuff they do listen to fans. And I think the Heroes Path DLC that came with the first set of DLC for Breath of the Wild, not the bonus stuff, but the actual first pack. It shows the green line and everywhere you traveled on the map.
Yeah.
I think that's secretly something Nintendo already had to kind of keep track on which areas was popular and which areas weren't. And then they just released it as DLC because they thought it would be fun for people to...
I think that's confirmed.
Oh, okay.
That basically that was one of the things they were doing when testing the game out to see kind of what areas playtesters would go to, like what kind of paths they would naturally go, that kind of...
Yeah.
And then they just ended up adding it as DLC because it's not like that wasn't like the whole DLC. It was just like one of the things that got tacked on, right?
Yeah.
So
it's just like one of the many things with it.
That's like one of those weird things that's like totally starts out as like a development tool and then becomes part of the... Actually, that's like Mario Maker's concept was. It began literally as a development tool, and they were like, "This is so fun. Let's just make it a game."
They made it so it would be easier to make the levels for Mario games.
For actual developers to make levels, which is really funny.
So with that in mind, if you are worried about Nintendo not focusing on certain areas, make sure you are playing the game online. That way it'll send your data to Nintendo so they can add your travels to the list of others. And if enough people do that and a certain area is missed by a lot of people, then Nintendo will for sure make it more memorable or fun in Breath of the Wild 2. Like maybe now, just as with almost every area in Breath of the Wild, maybe in Breath of the Wild 2, the ground will crumble, something will come out, or like a cliff will fall off and be like, oh, there was a dungeon there the entire time. Who would have known? Kind of like...
There's tons of spots like that where they could just slap a dungeon entrance side of a mountain wall or whatever and be perfect.
Yeah.
Tons of great spots.
So yeah, I guess that's it. Daniel, you have a video coming out tomorrow, maybe?
Yes, tomorrow.
Friday's usually the day.
Right. Friday is the day. Friday mornings I drop my videos. Yeah, tomorrow's video. What time did I schedule it for? It's not going to be a premiere. It's just I just scheduled it for 7 a.m. tomorrow. The video title is The Legend of Gnus. That's all. That's not the whole title, but that's all I'm going to say right now.
I always schedule my videos for that time as well.
7 a.m.
10 for me, but 7 for you. Yes.
Cool. Makes sense. That's a good time. You know, if you're like I'm on Pacific time, I'm on the West Coast, so it's for everyone else. They should already be up and about. So, you know what I mean? Unless really late. But which is fine. Do what's best for you. Some people work nights, that kind of thing. But yeah, the video is coming out tomorrow morning. It's all about Gnus, everything Gnus. It's actually the second character study video in my sort of new mini series sort of thing. I've already done one on Girahim, but
this is true.
I don't know. It's cool to kind of closely examine these characters. I think kind of put them under some scrutiny a little bit, but also kind of take a look at their character development, their growth, their motivations, etc. And the Gnus in particular is a really fascinating, really interesting character to examine. I think he's a really well-written character with a lot of development. So it was a really fun video to work on. I was pretty happy with how it turned out. I hope you guys look forward to that. But otherwise, I'll be streaming Metroid Dread on Saturday night. Continuing, we've already streamed 2 parts of it, but it's a fun time. It's a fun time on the Burger channel.
And you stream Zelda on Wednesdays.
Yes, Wednesdays. Although one of these Wednesdays, I might stream Animal Crossing because the update is coming up soon, and I want to do some stuff there. But usually on Wednesdays, it's Breath of the Wednesdays. So we stream Breath of the Wild. It's a very much the opposite of a speed run. It's a slow run. We've already streamed 24 sessions, 24 3-hour sessions or sittings of Breath of the Wild, and approximately. And I've only done 1 Divine Beast. So
what do they call it?
It's a slow
supercut stuff. You should do a supercut of Greg.
Of Greg?
Yeah.
Oh, Greg. Maybe I should.
Depending on whether or not you get back to your original place in the save file for Twilight Princess? Yes, Twilight Princess.
Oh, I'm back there.
Okay.
I'm working on that video as well, so
that'll be next week, hopefully.
Assuming I finish it on time, next week will be the second Twilight Princess dungeon design video. But I think it was actually 2 weeks ago now, I did the first one with the Forest Temple, and I was really happy with how that turned out. But the Twilight Princess has been one that people have been requesting since I started doing those videos. Like I started into Ocarina of Time, and people were like, I cannot wait for you to do Twilight Princess. So I'm really pleased to be launching into those and to be giving those dungeons the attention that they deserve, because that game is like I said earlier, Twilight Princess's strength is its level design. It's a fantastically scripted and designed game. There's so much to talk about with those ones. So try to keep these videos around the half-hour line.
Oh.
But they're
Natsu.
my last one was, yeah.
Natsu says I went the whole podcast without wearing the hat.
Oh my goodness, there it is. But yes, I'll wrap up my self-promotion here.
No, you're
Everything
good. You also have shirts.
Cap person. I haven't made an official announcement yet, but I did launch my merch.
Everyone.
No, I've already like put it on Twitter and Discord and stuff. But yeah, merch exists now, guys. So if people like the burger guy, that's me. Go find my stuff. Look me up. But everything is Capt Burgerson. CAPTBURGERSON. Like the captain is a burger. That's my dad.
I'll add the link to the chat below.
Sure.
So that's Breath of the Wild streams on Wednesdays until the Animal Crossing DLC. Friday you have your video on Groose until next Friday, where presumably each Friday your Twilight Princess dungeon theory lore design videos will come back and start releasing every Friday. And then Saturday you've been streaming Metroid Dread.
Yeah, pretty much. Metroid Dread has been a really good time. I'm loving that game, by the way.
Anything else anyone can look forward to?
I also, due to popular demand, recently launched my own Discord server. It's pretty low key. It's very chill. But, don't feel obligated to join it because I'm also in Jesse's Discord. So if you are already there and you just want to say hi to me, like, do it. I'm there. Don't worry. So, yeah, not to worry. But I did launch it recently, and good turnout of people so far. And we chit chat, we share memes, stuff like that. It's a good time.
Yeah, and if we're not active in the Discord, like if we go a day or two without mentioning anything, you can just tag us and ask us a question if you have it. Or you can just go to the Zelda Mailbag or the Hylian Gamescast if you have a topic or a question or something you want to leave for us to discuss or answer, talk about on the next episode, which we've usually been having these every Thursday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Pacific. And everything from me is at GameOverJesse. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, everything is at GameOverJesse or /GameOverJesse. Everything for Daniel's Capt Burgerson. 𝗷𝗵𝗃 that was here earlier as a guest. Everything for him is 𝗷𝗵𝗃 Gaming. He has a lot of similar content to Daniel and I. He's one of our oldest friends and most frequent collaborators on this here YouTube channel, and he stayed with us when we went to E3, and hopefully again if E3 ever happens again. And
if it ever.
Geek, who provided the Skyward Sword themed quiz. Everything for her is TGA Geekdom or The Geek Apprentice. She has her own YouTube where she does Zelda and various other stuff. And 𝗵𝗵𝗃, everything for her is 𝗵𝗵𝗃 or 𝗵𝗵𝗃 with 2 A's. She recently started her YouTube channel. But there's links to literally everything in the description below. You can just find our name, Capt Burgerson, GameOverJesse, The Geek Apprentice, 𝗵𝗵𝗃, or even the Hylian Gamescast itself. It is an entity that exists on its own, apparently.
Yeah,
and
it's alive, becoming aware.
yes, it's like 2/3 sentient. It depends on how much ice cream it has every day. So you can find everyone's name, and then underneath their name, organized and sectioned off, is like Twitter and YouTube and Twitch, Instagram, everything. So yes,
Jesse, and I have the stream up here, and I have the volume down, but it was playing, and a closed captioning is on, and when he said 𝗵𝗵𝗃, like closed captioning said Jubilee Mama.
Nice.
That's all. Jubilee Mama. Anyway, sorry, go on.
No, that's everything. To end it off, if you have some nice words that you would like to say and you want to shout out for the next on the next podcast this coming Thursday, then you can leave a review on iTunes. Or if you have a question, you can leave it in the Discord, or a topic you want us to discuss, you can leave it in the Discord. Again, everything is linked below on iTunes. I think even that has a link for it for you to go to. So you can leave a star review and whatever words you have. Thanks for the shout out. Thank you, Geek, for being you. I think that's everything. So thank you, Daniel, for coming here. Thank you,
Jeff.
Thank you. Again, you're welcome. Yeah, I don't know. It's like, I feel weird now when it's my birthday and people are like, happy birthday. I'm like, happy birthday to you. Or like, you too. No. So, yeah, everyone has the links in the description. Please, if you can, leave a review on iTunes.
Ja.
I don't think there's anything else to leave out. Go buy one of Daniel's new shirts. That would be awesome if you could. And then Natsu, Envy, Aaron, Norwhat Gaming Variety, everyone watching, Red Dill CMB. Thank you all so much for staying with us this late, watching for the 2 hours that we've been live. And again, Daniel, thank you for coming. Have a good night, everyone, and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right.